Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. In our today's video, we're going to start building our Babymart e-commerce website. As you can see over here, we're going to have a particularly an application building using the React Native. Then also you're going to have building our client-side application, which going to using the Next.js, and then we are going to having a for the admin portion, which we're going to use the Vue.js to create that. We're going to having an API segment where we're going to use the Node.js and the pure JavaScript over there. So if you are going to looking forward an overview for that, I'm going to provide that link of this video in the description. You can find everything related how we're going to create that, what kind of functionality it is there, except the mobile version. All are explaining there about the API, about the dashboard, about the client side. So you can find everything there. The most of it, what we're going to do, we're going to build this application like full entire structure in a 4 segment. First one we're going to build is our server. The first part going to contain the server, because without server we cannot perform any kind of actions. Then we're going to create our client admin application where we can just upload the product and let things to be worked. And then we're going to build our client-side application by Next.js. Then we're going to build our React Native. So there should be a 4 segment, and this all 4 segment gonna come part by part. So first part, we're gonna bring our server in this today's video. Second part, we're gonna bring our admin. Third part, we're gonna bring our client, and number 4, we're gonna build our application. And every part, if I finish the server, we're gonna deploy it. We're gonna finish the admin, we're gonna deploy it. So everything we're gonna finish time to time. Right, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna start building. So stay with me, we're gonna finish everything from tip to toe, and we're gonna make that happen entirely. So in our today's video, we're gonna start building our server. And to start with, first I'm gonna share with you a repository link. So this is the repository by which you can just this contains the entire code by which you can start with, and a proper guideline. As you can see, the Babymart e-commerce platform and what kind of project is there, an overview how we're going to build this structure, what are the technology stack we are using over here, like the front end, backend, and for the UI management and quick start guideline. So everything is right here so that you can adapt it, you can use it for having a proper understanding. And why I build up this, because these things you better to make it a star mark here, because this thing gonna be always updated, like each and every single month. I'm gonna just come in there, just toggle through the dependency and put everything in a right position. So this is the one which you need to have to start building this application, just to have in your arsenal. If you doesn't have that, follow through the videos. We can just build this entirely without having those ideas. And also there should be a client side property. So let's say client dot, and that should be, I think we can just open the application. I think this is the one, the link I'm going to provide in the description, which is the babyshop.reactvideo.com, which is like holding all the client-side activities you can find over there. And also there is that admin and babyshop.reactvideo.com, which holding the admin directory. You can just log in. If you have the credential, then you can just see whatever and what kind of structure we are just having here. You can view all of those properties entirely in a very good fashion. So first of all, to build that, we need to get this repository thing within our local machine. How we can do that? As you can see, it's a public repository. Either you can clone it, you can just go directly to fork it from here, and what I say again, requesting you is mark. And of course there's a lot of people, you are here around 85% people, you are not subscribing the channel. Please do subscribe. It's gonna help a lot for me to like encourage myself building some more stuff, and also for my growth. Okay, so I really impactful it will be for just a single click subscription. It can do a lot more things for you. And please do like the video if we are building something awesome. And to do that, you can also, either way, you can go download zip. You can also open with a GitHub desktop, and pretty much if you click on that, it's gonna just automatically open directly within GitHub desktop, and you can clone it. So this is the one way. And if you just want to go and if you just want to clone that copy, also you can use the same thing, but I'm going to use that my GitHub desktop just to clone it. So let's clone the repository, not like that. I'm going to just go with that. I think I have that, so should be Babymart YT. So should be Babymart YT. Okay, still not finding. I need to refresh it. So now you can see, so this is the one which I will choose. I'm going to clone it directly within my local machine. So as you see, it's clone, and this is a bit of bigger because this have a 4 segment right here. So you're going to open it using my Visual Studio Code. You can use any kind of code like Cursor or others. It will be and very excellent just to open the project within that easily using that particular scenario. So from there you can see the structure. There is a readme, so what we are actually accessing beforehand, so you can find all the details right here. Then we are going to having that we're going to have the admin, which the application is created, just the simple packages, and all the configuration is done to build up with the Shatshian and other, same as with the client and also with the mobile app and also with the server. So we're going to open all by one to see what kind of things we are happen to be there. If we put ls, as you can see, we are now happen to be there in our local server. So it's having in the main directory. So be careful, once you are putting in ls, you must be seeing that directory, otherwise you are having a problem. So we have admin, client, mobile app, readme, and the server. So let's go cd into admin, and I'm going to make that npm I to install everything from there. You can use either pnpm or you can use the bun or yarn, doesn't matter. If you're using any other except that npm, just remove that package log.json file and then install everything. That will be perfectly fine. And if you're cloning it, if you want that, no, I will just clone it myself. I'm not gonna do and follow anything. You can just make a simple command that rm-rf.git. So you're gonna just remove that git credential from there, then you can push it in your particular like own GitHub repository. And let's go cd into client, and also I'm going to make npm I to install everything, and then I'm going to go with that our server. Let's go cd into server, and there should be npm I, and one is pending, which is the mobile app. This mobile app we are not gonna fill it right now because this gonna be entirely once we're gonna start building, because you're gonna learn a lot of things from there once we're gonna building structure directly. So this we're gonna bring it later on. So right now, as you can see, our admin is running. I'm gonna just simply make that npm run dev to run it in localhost 5173 as we build it using the vjs. Okay, it's starting, and also okay, and also to run that, I'm gonna just make that npm run dev to start our server. So that's the server gonna run. So I'm gonna just open it 5173. So as you can see, it will be nothing that much fancy here, just a Babymart admin dashboard. You can just directly go in the admin, and from here we have the env setup, what kind of credential we are needing. If you just remove everything from here, your application gonna be empty. So this is the file which is filling everything, just providing you an overview. So that's it. So you got the idea that we have a basic structure to start with. Similarly for the server, if we just go in to open off that localhost 8000 here, so this is our server, and for especially for the server, as you can see, just a little bit of documentation here, just so that you can go and understand a bit about that. And also for the client, is gonna be a little bit heavy. Okay, if we just make that npm run dev, so that will open in localhost 3000, which actually happened to be in our client side. And if you just go roll back to our admin portion, as you can see, that's the same proportion of the things which we are building to make you understand that what kind of facilitating or what kind of materials we're going to build by so far, just providing an overview so that you can understand it better. And if you view that one, same thing, same like the admin, just providing an overview how you're going to start, like admin, client, and backend. So this is just let you understand what kind of things we're going to building by so far. So our first priority is to start building our server. So this the server proportion we're gonna start building. And in the server, as you see, we're gonna happen to use to bring our credential here, which gonna provide that .env, and we're gonna having the port, we're gonna having the Mongo URI, because we're gonna using the MongoDB. We're gonna having the JWT secret, Stripe secret key, Stripe webhook secret, Cloudinary cloud name, API key secret key, and possibly we're gonna having our admin URL, client URL, and whenever we're gonna round up in our production, we're gonna also passing that our production server URL. URL. So this is our server specific scenario. And right now, if we go in our localhost 8, so in the server, first I'm going to provide what kind of things we're going to build. In the server, as you can see, whenever we are logging, our user also going to be happen to be stored in our MongoDB. So everything going to be handled from there. So all this data going to coming from our API. So we're going to build everything such a measure that you can understand that it's going to build in a very, very solid way. To start with, we have that index.js file. So this is the file, and there is a lot of things you're going to find by so far. By default is providing to you. We already start using the express.env error handler, which we're using that error middle handler. If you just go the middleware, and you can see we are also shaping how the error going to handle, how the status code going to handle, and same way how the Auth middleware is going to work, how it going to protect, and also how it going to decipher of the admin request and others. So this is the same thing which we build up. We just provide that to you, so that, and of course once we are gonna using that one, we're gonna explain everything. In the utils, the email service setup is there, but right now in this application we are not gonna using the email setup because already it's gonna be a long video, like long project, because 4 setup things gonna be there, so I'm not gonna hang it with that. Then we're gonna also having the generate token, we're gonna use that. So right now let's start building our application. So first we need to provide that our .env, right? For the and .env, first we need to provide that our MongoDB URI and that JWT secret. And for the JWT secret, I'm going to just go directly in our token generator. So token generator.reactivity.com. From here, you can easily generate a token. So as you can see, I'm going to generate a JWT secret. So it's just going to generate that one. Let's generate. You can make it bigger if you want it to. I don't want to provide the name. I'll just go with the sub credential like that. I'm going to copy that. I will use that wholesome amount, so I want it to be bigger. Okay, now you can use any kind of secret. It's simple. It can work for you. Like if you can remove that. So this is the 3 category which must needed be. And also you can just simply make any kind of like SSH key. You can just generate from this website pretty simply. And also, by the way, you can also decode, like whatever code I generate, I can decode, I can get the value. So this is a tiny bit of website which can really help you to go and work with that. So feel free to use it. And if you are finding it really helpful, you are always can make me provide a coffee. That would be a much more appreciate if you do so. The link, it will be in the description, so find it. And also here you can find the video, like what kind of things we are building. You can get all the data. Like if you just open that, that will provide you a structural description about what we are going to make it so far. So after that, we need to set up our MongoDB, right? So we're going to directly go in our mongodb.com, and on that MongoDB, either you should happen to be open an account, or you can simply get started to register. So what I'm going to do, I'm already having an account, and on that account, I'm going to directly go with using my Google to sign up. I just use my Google account to log in that MongoDB. And by the way, if you are looking for the source code of the project, you can still finding that here, in especially for that Buy Me a Coffee. You can directly go in the shop, and on the shop you can find this is the project which holding every single code of there. So you can directly purchase here, and you just everything is right there, all the setup, all that like readme md file and setup md file, everything there to let you do. Just you need to provide that credentials. All the code gonna working perfectly fine. We already tested by so far, so you can find each and every single segment, all the responsiveness, everything gonna work. If you want it, you can just get it from there. So right now, our first thing is that to provide especially our MongoDB credentials. So to do that, as we are logged in, you're gonna come back right here. So this is the tab where you can see the browse your collection. So first thing is that you need to go directly in your network access, and that one, if is not in that 0.0.0.0/0, because by default it can be accessing your current IP, then remove the current IP. You can use that one, so you can access it from anywhere, right? So we make sure you are doing that. Then you need to also set one more thing, which gonna be that database access. So as you can see, I'm already having a user, so you may not have any user, so you just need to add new database user, and from there it's gonna create the password. So I'm gonna make that Babymart YT. So I'm gonna go with the similar fashion for the password and keep the password simple with the text and number, because otherwise once it's connecting it can having some minor error. So never try to copy paste whatever the credentials I'm using right here. It will not help you, it will not work, but it can open a flag for me that just a warning that somebody is using, which is not a good thing to have. So please don't use that. So this is the credential which you're gonna have, and after that also you can just use your like auto generate secure key. As you can see, it's also using that number pattern. You can just use that one too, but I'm gonna use that one, the simple one. And if you want also keep the user description, for me it's okay. And make sure you add a built-in role, and from there I'm going to use that. Now you can make that at last admin, which having to do everything with an account. You can read and write to my any database, or read only read any database. I'm going to make that as an at last admin, so it can do each and every single separate every single actions from there. Let's add a user. So now I'm having a user for the Babymart YT. Let's directly go to our cluster over here. So this is the one which holding everything, and as you see it's just refreshing on that, because we are setting up a new user. So it's gonna just let it be a little bit of time till it get green. And as you see, not green, just that loading is disappear. I'm going to click on that connect tab, and here I'm going to use that compass, and from the compass I don't have MongoDB compass installed, so I can now copy this code from there. And then after copying this code, I'm directly going to go within my application. I'm going to paste that one, or I'm going to just make a string over here, paste that one right here. So this is the MongoDB credential which I'm gonna follow through. And also what I'm gonna do as it's just gonna set on that particular clusters. So I'm gonna just provide it a little bit of, let's say that should be, so that's the username and DB name. So what I need to do, I'm gonna make that a Babymart YT, which is the username, and also the same password of that Babymart YT. And after that, if I don't put anything there, it's gonna just simply set that one or save that one as a test database. I don't want to be as a test. So if you directly go in my browse collection, I already having one collection here, which is for my Bangla channel, which is the YT baby shop. So here I'm gonna make a different collection. So the collection name, it should be, let's say, Babymart YT. So this is the collection which it gonna access, and from there what I want it to be, retrieve rights should be true, and majority and app name cluster 1. So I'm gonna just providing it a permission so it can read and write within my database. That's it. So that should analyze a proper connection within my database scenario. So if I go directly here right now, I'm gonna make that localhost 8000, and especially without going for directly over here, like as you can see, you can go like that, but this is not a good practice every time. Like you can just render it directly from there, but what I recommend is using that Postman. You can use any other platform to use that one, but Postman, what I feel really useful on that. And on that platform, on the Postman, as you can see the collection here, and also in that collection we can just create a new collection. So I'm just gonna create a new blank collection here, and I'm going to provide the name of that. I'm just gonna provide that name should be Babymart YT. So this is my new collection, and on that collection what I'm gonna do is a simple way. I can just make in the Babymart, I'm gonna just copy, like click on the three dots, I'm gonna add a request, and that should be a test request, let's say home route. Okay, so I'm gonna make everything as a camel case, not in this snake case or other. So here what we can do right now, as you see where our application is running, we can simply go copy that and simply paste it here and hit enter, so that you can find that response is 200 and everything is to be done. So as you can see, especially over here, I don't know why the sign is this one is coming. There should be Babymart, okay, because when I was generating I was keeping it name as a baby shop, but later on I changed that it should be the Babymart. That would really be inconsiderable. So here as you can see you can get the details, but for now over here I'm gonna just simply make that a simple resolution here. So let's just rest.send, I'm gonna just simply pass that, and on that message, I'm going to pass that server is saying hello. Okay, if I just hit enter, I'm going to find the message key. Server is saying hello. So this is the server which actually helping. And also you can measure your health about that, error handling about that, and also the port. So this one no need to have this much, so I'm going to just provide that API server is running. So I'm gonna just need that console. Other console, I'm gonna just remove it, which is not required right now. I just keep it for the testing purposes so that you can easily use it if you are looking forward to. So just remove it, little bit of clean face. So now as you can see, API server is running. Okay, good. So what we need to do, as you can see here, especially in that index.js file, there should be coming a lot of other parameter. So our first parameter we need to use to bring one user here so that we can now start pouring the data set and others. So I'm gonna close it. I'm gonna close it too. I'm gonna make it a little bit smaller here so that we can work with that easily. So we need to create the route, then we need to also initialize our database sector so that we can have every single thing to be done directly there. So first of all, what we're going to do, we're going to implement our MongoDB structure so that we can connect our MongoDB. As you can see, the connect database structure going to be there. So what we're going to do, we're going to initially make this config directory here. As you can see, we have the setup for the Cloudinary. We have the setup for DB config for the database configuration. We have that for the Swagger configuration by which the Swagger gonna happen, which also you can initialize that documentation about how the documentation gonna read. Every single thing is just written for you there, so you just need to implement the setup and it will work perfectly fine. Now our first initial task is that connecting our database. So how we can see, if we see in the DB, we are using that Mongoose from the Mongoose. As you can see also in the packages, this is already installed, the dependency here. So you can simply find it right here. Now, after importing it, we are connecting here, creating a MongoDB connection using that mongoose.connect, and we are just passing that process.env.mongo URI. That's why we need to provide that URI right here, otherwise it can't access. And then if it's connected, we are actually console logging that. You can either connect it the host name, or I'm going to just make it simple. I'm going to just pass that as, let's say, I'm going to just make that database is connected, or DB is connected. That's the way you prefer. If you're having the error, you're gonna just simply log the error and the process gonna be accessed from there, and that's it. So now let's go in our index. After that list of that comment, we can simply bring the function which gonna connect our database. So we're gonna make that connect DB. And if its import is working for the DB.js, most probably it will not come as JS, it's gonna coming like DB. So if it's coming like DB, you need to import that JS also. So now if everything working, as you can see, API is running. So that is the database also gonna connect. You can see it's making that bad auth authentication is failed, so means we having some problem. Our database is not working properly. So I'm gonna just go and ensure that for the database access, we are having that Babymart YT. I think that this is the password which we use, Babymart YT, and also the baby. Oh, actually, there is the T is missing. You see that? So that T need to be there. So that was the problem. So I'm going to come in index. I'm going to save again so that this time I believe the connection gonna work. So let's see 1 2 3 4. Okay, database is connected. Now right now supposed to be not happen to be anything, but we're gonna see if we can access any kind of actions. No, it will not access right now. Once you're gonna hit directly there, it's gonna access. So now our database is working perfectly fine. So how we can create a user? So basically what we're gonna do, we're gonna use our code base and use our for our postman to perform each and every single task. Why we're doing that? Because you're going to think about like a backend engineer who doesn't have an access in the front end design and other parameter. We know the backend structure, so you're going to create the backend structure as a backend developer, right? So first of all, we need to create our route. So this is the route going to happen to be make everything to make in a proper delegation. Also, as you can see, for that course origin is just right here. So for the cross contamination, it will not happen to be to you. And also app.io, so this is the one is using. We also having the debug middleware for other routes. And right now what we're gonna have, we need to create our entire route setup. So what we're gonna do is that first of all we're gonna create our route setup. So our first route gonna be, I'm going to make that as app.use, and that use method we're going to use that /API / that should be the auth route, and we need to create that auth route. So to create the auth route, I'm going to go and access especially our, it doesn't have a route directory here. I'm going to create a new folder or directory which going to be named as routes. So in that route parameter, we're going to create our file which going to have our SA auth route. So I'm going to create a new file. This should be auth route. I'm going to make it as camel case 2 auth route.js. And that should be multiple route, should be routes.js. Now over here, we need to import Express to generate that one. So import Express from, it should be coming from the Express. And over here, we're going to make this simply that const router should be is equal to express dot, and that will access that router to build the route structure done. And also we're going to make that export default, and that should render our router directly there. So also you can simply come in here, and also you can just import that auth routes. So right now, I think first instance, it will not directly coming there. So I'm going to just import it here. So let's say all the routes import going to come in here. So import auth routes from, that should be coming up from, I think, oh, sorry, should be from, and that should be coming like on only a single dot and the routes, and here auth route.js. So this is the one which gonna handle our route. Now if we just come in the auth route, we can simply pass that a simple method, simple mechanism by which we can maintain that yes, our route is working, that everything going fine. So what I'm gonna make, router dot, I'm gonna make a get method just to see it's working, and that should be coming as login. Just make that. We're going to change later on, break response. So from here, I'm going to pass that rest.send. Let's say login is working. Okay, that's simple. Just a login method. So of course it will not be a get method, it should be a post method, but we're going to modify it later on. Over here, as you can see, we have that localhost 8000. We're going to just go directly with another route, localhost 8000. Remember the way we created our API, we are just passing that directly here using that /API /auth, right? So after that, localhost 8000, you need to provide that /API /auth, and after that, that should be our login. So if we hit enter, and as you can see, login is working, means our route is performing the tasks in a proper way. So we can now go structurizing our data and others. Now, as it's happened to be working perfectly fine, we're gonna create or implement the full setup, the full module, the way it will work. So now this method, it will not be a get method, it would be a post method, right? As the login method gonna be substantially for happen to be a post mechanism. So that should be, let's say, login user. So actually first one is better to create the user, but anyway, or we can, instead of login, I'm going to just keep it same. For right now, I'm going to keep it same. That should be, we are not login. We're going to create first this at the register user. So that should be our first route. And of course, it would be a post method here. And what we gonna do, instead of login, it would be a register mechanism, right? So that should be our first route. If we click right here, it will find an error because that route would not be found. So I'm gonna just comment that our login. First, we're gonna create our register route by which we can bring back our register setup, right? And to do that, what we need to do, I'm gonna comment each and every single route. So should be, let's say it should be login route. And here it's gonna coming register route. So what kind of things gonna having under this register route? Router dot is should be a post method, and over here it should be coming / register, and on that register we're gonna make that a register user. So this kind of functionality we're gonna decipher to build it in a separate conception, because this is the file where we're gonna put all the routes set up, right? Now if you are familiar with, especially for that Next.js build up, you know, we can create that server right here, but we are separating each and everything, because this route is gonna also passing the data directly to our database for our mobile application and others. So we're gonna build up a perfect structure of database, not just a manipulating or just a simple data structure, but a proper and a perfect structure of database which you can use it anywhere, wherever you're looking forward to. And so that what we can do, we're going to create a middleware, right? So that is the middleware which is going to help us to bring back everything. So this is the Auth middleware setup by which we can not the middleware, we are going to make that controllers, right? So the controllers going to happen to be bring like hold all of the controlling, like all the functions, whatever the route configuration going to work, all things going to be passing in our controller. So I'm going to create a controllers directory. Over here I'm going to create a simple file which it would be auth controllers dot, or that should be controller, a single controller which gonna happen to be make things right. So this is the controller which gonna do everything to go and pass by. So it will be a simple function, so that should be a register controller, register register user. Over here you're gonna just simply make a register user function. So let's say register user, and that function should be coming from async handler. Now first of all, if I just go in our packages, do we have that async handler? Express async handler. Yes, we do have async handler. Now you can simply search in the package managers to find that library here, express async handler. If we just go here and let's say if we go in the npm, and by the way, whatever the packages, see for the running the application which is already configured, you can see we are running using the for especially for the depth, we are using the node one. So our server is keep on running, is not a finish yet. Like if we used the node only instead of node one node, and one time running it will just stop. Because of the node one, it's not stopping, it continuously running that. Find more about that using that, just go through that node one documentation, you can find a better understanding over there. And now why we're going to use that express async handler with a simple middleware for handling exceptions inside of async express routes and passing them to your express error handlers. So this is the simple way we can handle all of our error using that simple mechanism of that handler. Now to do the other setup, what we're gonna do in the controllers for the register user, we're gonna happen to build those entire things. First of all, we're gonna use that async handler, and over here there should be an async mechanism, because remember we're gonna register our user in the database, so there should be a downtime till the server is making us the timeout. So we need to wait a specific moment to set the things in our server. So that's why we will make that async and await. If because JavaScript working just a single threaded language, so if you didn't put that async await, it will just hit and run, which is not we want. We want to save the user in our database. Now over here we're gonna make that const, which gonna coming to a name, coming to an, or I'm gonna get nothing right here. I'm gonna simply just log over here. Let's say I'm gonna make that I'm gonna just simply make request that rec, and here rec dot body, whatever passing in the body, right? So this would be a simple parameter by which we can just pass that. Let's say rest.send, we're gonna just passing a status, or I think we can just simply pass that rest.status. Right now I'm gonna just pass a status of 200 that everything is good, and from that status I'm gonna pass a JSON, and over in the JSON I'm gonna pass the message. Let's say over here I'm gonna make that saying register route is working. So, and also we need to export that, or you can either make default, or simply you don't need to make the default, you can just simply make that as register user. Or if you don't want to export from there, you can directly export from there also. But what I love that to export in a single instance, so I know if I am having any extra credential there. So export user, and as you can see, that's just passing that controller here. That should be happen to be auth controller dot JS file. Okay, so right now everything is working perfectly fine. So whatever we're gonna passing in our request body, if I put register, as you can see, register route is working, but we request is undefined. We didn't receive anything because we have no data accordingly, right? Now to create a user, what kind of data we're gonna pass, right? So we need to bring back the user, right? So for having that particular user, what kind of data field that user is requesting? So we're gonna pass that using that params over here. A user should have a name. Let's say I'm going to provide my name, and you can either pass that param or you can directly go with the JSON. We're going to try in both way. I think it will work for if we go in the register. Let's see. No, it will not. We need to pass that as a JSON parameter, so it will not work like that. So from here, I'm going to go in our, let's say, in the body. And from there, I'm going to choose that like a none, or I can go with the raw body. And from the row, I'm going to choose as JSON data structure. So I'm going to pass everything as a JSON format. And to do that, first of all, I'm going to pass that as an object. So first, I'm going to provide the name. So on that name, I'm going to provide the name as my name. And then I'm going to provide an email. That's just a simple email over there. And then every user should have a password, right? So password, let's just put that I'm going to make a stringify password, not just a number password. So let's say 345678. So that's the password we're going to provide. And every user should also have a role. So by default way, all the users should be happen to be role as not admin but user. I'm going to provide that role as a user role. And then also we can set the user address right now for the registration. Whenever you are registering a user right now, if you just go back in our let's say in our client-side application, as you can find it when we are registering a new user. So as you can see, sign up. In the sign up, we are not holding to be providing the user address. It's not a good practice. So what we are doing, we're getting the name, we're getting the first name, last name. We are also accessing those things. We're getting the email, and because that's the name gonna concat and providing the name, right? Then we are just getting the password, role by default role, or we can access any role, then sign up. So what we can do to initialize that data for the empty address and others, we can just access that from the the database. We can just pass from there whatever we want. So right now, if I hit enter, and as you can see, I can now access in the request name, email, password, role. So that's the same thing which we are looking forward to. So what I'm gonna do, instead of passing directly here, instead of, as you can see, this is coming just an object, right? So you can simply make that, we can just destructure the object from the reg.body and request body. What, as we are using that JavaScript, it will not suggest anything like what the TypeScript is building. And after this project, we're going to happen to be working another project, and that would be built entirely with the TypeScript. There you're going to find how you can build that structure, like server structure, using TypeScript, which is blazing first, and also it will let you do less error. So we're going to build up next on that. So you're going to get the name, we're going to get the email, we're going to get the password, and also you're going to get the role. So this is the entire structure going to coming from our structure of there. So right now we also gonna, whenever we're gonna setting the name of that, but as you can see, we started building the process. But if we directly go in our Mongoose, so let's say Mongoose, if we directly go in the Mongoose over here in their documentation, Mongoose is gonna working like a model. So every single setup, like every data structure, as you can see here, I'm passing that ID, email, password, about a role. This is just a model. So somewhere in the model, we need to provide that those things gonna explain that what is just kind of a definition of the product. So what we are saying user, but what a user look alike. So that's what we need to define here. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna create a new directory here, which gonna be simply pass our, let's say it should be all the models gonna be entering here. First one should be our user model.js. So this we're gonna create that. So import, and I'm going to just make that Mongoose from Mongoose. And over here, let's say we're going to pass that user schema. that should be coming from Mongoose schema, mongoose.schema. So let's say schema here within the function, we're going to pass the object. Now over here, there should be a multiple scenario. First of all, we're going to define how our a user, so I'm going to just enclose others. So a user gonna have a name which gonna type is a string and required is true. So a user must have a name. Then also a user must type is a string and required true. And like how are you going to decipher a single user? So a single user going to decipher not by using an username and others, but according to the email. Like with a single email, you can just create a single user in my application, or you can just also passing that using other parameter like to make it username, or you can manually create the username making your own identity, but I'm not going to handle that. We're going to make that email as a unique, and the password also type a string required true. So make sure are you making that required is true. If it's not making required true, then it's going to access in some other portion. And after that, and now why I am just copy pasting that one, this can be a good question to you. I'm just trying to consume the time a bit. You can just pause the video, or you can just wait a bit and you can type those things. This is very simple to go with that. So first, then a user gonna have an avatar which is type is a string. Now default value, I'm gonna provide a default image. So this is the default. Later on we will be having the functionality by which we can use like upload the user using that Cloudinary, right? We are gonna do that later on, by which we can access those. Then we're gonna having also a role which gonna type a string, and a name of that role we're gonna having the admin, user, delivery man. So we know what kind of roles it's gonna set. Default gonna passing that as user. And after that, we're gonna also having a certain kind of scenario right now. So that should be passing an address. A user must happen to be have to address. As you can see, user having address for, like, as you can see, is an array of address having the wish list, array of wish list, a card item, array of card. So also gonna happen to be get the orders and others. We're gonna pouring all of those things. So address, we're gonna having the street number, which gonna be type of string required true. We having the city, the string required true. We're having the country, postal code, and is default either is it true or not. Like we're gonna having a multiple address scenario. So whatever the default one and whatever not, we can mention by this segment. And for the other parameter, we're gonna also passing that wish list and others. So this is the address. And here also for the wish list, we're gonna bring it later on, wish list. And after that also we're gonna bring our card, because remember a card gonna be accessing our product scenario, the product data gonna handle there. So we cannot directly inject it right here. And that's also gonna contain our timestamp. So let's say timestamp gonna be passing that. Let's say timestamps. Is it gonna be working here? It's supposed to be here, but why is not? Okay, I think it will not make that time TMPS gonna be true. Okay, so this is the accessing that the user schema, and right now we are not gonna access any other thing. We're gonna just simply pass that const user. So user is equal to mongoose.model, and from there we're gonna pass simply the user, and the user gonna having that user schema, right? And from there we're gonna just simply export default, and that should be our user. So wherever now we are needing that user, we can simply access that schema. There we can pass that. Now the wish list, card, and also the orders, other data gonna fill up later on. Once we're gonna passing that, also it gonna coming up, let's say it gonna also pass the order. So a user order, we're gonna access that one also here. So right now as it's working right here, so we can set the controller such a way so that it can measure on that. Now first of all, as you can see, a user registration must require, like whenever a user is registered, we will not let them to register again. We can pass them a message that you have an user, user is already exists, just go back to login. So we can now simply take an object user exists. So this gonna hold to pass that if the user is available or not. We're gonna await on that. Then we're gonna just simply go in our database over here. And of course, you can see right now you need to put that JS to go hold an user model. And over here we can, as you see, we have one unique proportion is that find one where we're gonna pass that simply our email. So we have the email is unique. According to the email, we can get the user directly. So now we can pass logic. If the user exists, what we want restore status to be sent as a 400, okay, and also we can either simply throw an error, or also you can pass simply a .json file by which we can go that. So we can just, it's up to you how you want it to. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna process that throw an error. So this, whatever mechanism you're looking forward, you can use that, and that should be throwing a new error, and the error gonna be saying that user, let's say user already exist, try login. That's it. So if the user exists, it's gonna pass that method. So what's gonna happen if we doesn't have that, like we are not happen to be that user existed, that's particularly coming a new user. So const, we're gonna simply take an object as user, so that should be await, and we're gonna user dot, we're gonna use that create method, and that's the just a MongoDB accessories. That's the how Mongoose gonna work. So first of all, we're gonna create a user using the name, using the email, using that password, and using whatever the role is you are providing, and then we are gonna passing an object called an address. Remember why we need that. In the user model, you can see we provide that address. So that's the address gonna be street, city, country, postal code is default. This is not like mandatory. You can skip that, it will work. But what we really need is that to provide such a dimension so every user can have that. So this is the way we can combine. We have the name, email, password, role, address, right? And now if we are having the users, I'm going to remove this one, because now we're going to provide a proper method. So if the user is created, so this is the method which providing the user. If user is created, there should be rest.status, and we're going to provide the status of 201, and we make sure to search in the Google that HTTP code of 201. So let's see what kind of things it's just returning from there. Yeah, as you can see, status code 201 created indicates that the client's request was successful and a new resource has been created on the server. So you can simply search those things and find an answer. So I don't want to go and explain each and every single time. Now we're going to pass the JSON. In that JSON, we're going to return some of data. So we're going to return, keep that underscore ID. Why underscore ID? Because whenever you're going to create a document, especially in MongoDB, it's automatically binding an ID with that underscore ID. So I want that to be similar on that whenever you're going to supporting the client, and the ID should be user underscore ID because the user is created, right? So this is how it's gonna access the things to be there. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna access the other parameters. So user should have an ID, user dot underscore ID, name should be coming as the username, email should be user dot, and that's the new user which we created. You can keep it as a, you can also call it a new user or user, that's up to you, just an object, and which gonna receiving return value of that, right? So then we're gonna having the avatar, role, and user address. Okay, so this, as you can see, after if, we can also pass them an else method if we are having that problem. So rest of status, and in the status we're going to provide a 400 method because the error is providing, and let's say throw new error, and the error gonna contain, let's say, invalid user data. Okay, fine. Now what we can happen, what we can get actually, if we click on that, we're supposed to get that a user, right? So let's say click there, and right now, as you can see, we're having that ID directly from the MongoDB. We're having the name, email, avatar is there, user, and address. So let's go here, and I'm going to refresh that entire structure. So let's see what we are going to receive from there. And as you can see at the top, Babymart YT is right here, and this is the user data which is coming by so far. And here you can see we have the name, we have ID, name, email, password, avatar, role, address, created at. But as you can see, the password, this is not a good deal to keep the password like that, right? But here, as you can see in our other one, our password is encrypted. So what we need to do is to make an encryption on our data so user data cannot be accessed from anywhere. So I'm going to just delete that one. So now we're going to access to create other parameter in that user model. We can simply decipher how it can be. Either you can do in the model, also you can do in the controller. But as you can see, we are having a lot of things in the controller. So I'm going to provide something here in that model to be handled on. So now, after using that, as you can see, before passing that one directly here, we will make some of the combination, which going to pass that, let's say it will match user, enter password to, let's say should be hashed password in database. One should be matching that password, another it will encrypting the password, right? So I'm going to just simply pass the two. So one, whenever we're gonna, you see, whenever this mechanism is required, especially you are just getting that password in there, but whenever you are registered, like login method is happened, but right now we are not going to match that one, as we are not having the login mechanism here. It's just registering the user. So what we need here, encrypting the password. So we're going to simply pass that user schema dot pre. On that pre method, we're going to simply pass that save. So before saving that, we will just get an async function over here. So async function, and on that function, we're going to pass a validator, which going to be extracting the next mechanism. And from there, if, let's say, if this dot is modified, let's say is modified, and from there, if the password is coming, so let's say password, and over here we're gonna simply pass that next. Okay, so if the password is not is modified, then simply it's gonna do the other action, and after that we can simply pass that const salt. Let's say salt should be is equal to, we need to use that Bcrypt.js to make that things to be happen. So we're gonna use that Bcrypt. So let's say in the package, if we are gonna happen to be past that Bcrypt yet, so this is the Bcrypt.js. I think, yeah, we are having that, so we need to import that one at the top. So it should be coming, let's say import Bcrypt from Bcrypt.js. And right now, if you go back to the package, if you are just not passing that, as you can see in our type, we are having the module. That's why we can directly import like that. If it's in common, you need to just make const similarly like that. Const Bcrypt from, or not from, it should be require. Then you need to pass that. So this is how it's going to work. But right now, as we're using the module, so we can simply just pass directly like that. So now over here, what we're going to pass directly is that Bcrypt dot, we're going to simply use that gensalt, and we're going to pass a 10 gensalt. Feel free to read the documentation about how this salt is working, how the things is passing like that. So this dot, we're going to just post the path, like put the password on that, should be await, and then we're gonna pass that Bcrypt dot hash, and from there we're gonna simply pass that this dot whatever the password we are passing, and then we're gonna simply pass the salt. So this is how we're gonna combine those everything in real time. And also we need to make one more setup, is that we need to ensure only one address is default. Because whenever user having address, like it can have a 4 or 5 address, one address should be a default address, which they can, whenever user going to the card, automatically that will be set. But so I can just pass you a demo over here. Let's say I'm gonna just log in, and from there I'm gonna go with my account right here directly. Okay, I think the password may be like that. Okay, so right now, if we just directly go in over here, as you can see, we have our address. So over here, I think there, yeah, if we just cut that, you see, this is the default address. So this user can have multiple address. I don't know if this having the access or not. So this is the add address parameter. So let's say, let's. No, there is some problem with that, because this is in live. I need to like make some configuration by which I just stop, because a lot of requests coming and my database is getting full. So I'm just stopping that one here. Also, by the way, we can simply pass that. Okay, I think something is wrong in my proportion here. Okay, if we go back here, yeah, right now it will work. Okay, as you can see over here, if we directly go in the proceed to checkout, I think, yeah, From there I can easily add a new password here. So let's say I think 245 over here, 245, and then Dhaka, and also okay, add address. Okay, I think I need to work on that. Yeah, I think I stopped the database to populate. So just as you can see, that would be one would be default. There will be another address which, and there should not be default to address, only single address can be default. So that's the one we need to ensure over here. So what we're gonna do, user schema. And same thing, if you're finding any error, let me know in the comments, because then I'm gonna fix that. I'm gonna pass that error, like for the, especially for that address mechanism, I'm gonna fix that, because I just remove some things to be entered there, either because a lot of requests gonna coming in the database, which can cost money. So I stop some of the parameter to be populate data from there. So same, before is saving, I want to access that, and over here again, simply I'm going to create that function, and that function you're going to populate the next parameter. And over there, what we're going to do, we're going to just simply pass that. We're going to pass a simple mechanism here. So we're going to pass that if pre is modified and addresses, then it's going to passing the default address. So the this dot addresses, you're going to find that is default should be passing that as a default address. So if it's default, so then it's going to just go in that make the default. So first one, if it's a default address is not there, then it's going to set, otherwise it's going to make false, and then you're going to pass that as the next parameter. So right now what we're going to happen, if we just go directly within our postman over here, and of course come in the index, make every load, like save the data, and it will automatically reload. If we just go and make send, that user is gonna create again in MongoDB. So illegal arguments, string object, stack illegal arguments. Okay, there is something we did wrong, and what it could be. So this is our auth routes, this is our user model. I think something we have been missing here. So okay, I think also you will just provide that one just to pre-match the data, like user methods of match password. It can also go with that bcrypt.compare, so that method can inject. Now this time, if we try, okay, internal error. So I'm gonna just enclose that, and let's say npm run dep to rerun again. I don't know what's the wrong here. So this is the Bcrypt.js. So if I just go and manipulate all other thing, let's say I'm gonna just provide like that. Is it gonna work? Okay, this is gonna saving. Okay, fine. So this save again, and I'm gonna use a different email. This time we try. Okay, illegal arguments string object function. So Babymart server index file server. Okay, we are having some of the problem. What we installed here, we have the Bcrypt.js, right? So that's supposed to work. So in the package, we are also having the Bcrypt.js. So let's see what kind of things we need to modify. The problem is not for the first mechanism here. The problem, I believe, is that, remember, we making the salt, right? Now over here, as you can see, the same parameter is happening. We didn't use that await, so it's not waiting till the salt is creating, because we are not like by default you can create also, like you can encrypt your password by your own. All the method is there in the Node.js, but you know, we're not handling so many things, as the Bcrypt is providing the data, so we can make the Bcrypt data property. Now that Bcrypt also happen to be hosted in a server, so what we are doing, we are getting the salt value where we are hitting in the Bcrypt mechanism, and we need to wait till the result is coming. So now if we try, and that time we should be able to get, as you can see, user is created. So let's go back in our MongoDB and refresh again. So here it's gonna populate two. So first one I'm gonna remove because it's just created just to testify for that. And this one, as you can see, we have the ID, name, email, password, avatar, role. We have the address array, and the good thing is that we have the password which we can't inject like that. So right now, even your database is compromised, nobody can find your user email or like address, and can't access that one, right? That's a good thing to be implemented like that way. So let's go there and try to create the same thing again. As you can see, bad request user already exists, and as you can see here, we are implementing such a way our server is not dropped, right? Even we are requesting getting a 400 like a bad request, but server is okay. It's because we are managing with the async handler all the error properties. So I'm gonna go try to make that with the previous one, and that time again the two user we are having that. So good thing is that we are got that point. So now we need to create a login mechanism, right? So let's go back to the auth route. So we have one post mechanism by which we are creating our auth. So user model, I think this match of user enter password is hashed a password in database. We can also populate that one. That should be a good one. So we're gonna simply pass that. So to do that, it can be simply just go with that user schema, because that's where we can simply call in the login, we can call that mechanism, because both model gonna access this same thing. So it's gonna pass that user schema.methods.match password. If it's there, enter password, it's gonna take that value, and then it's gonna compare with that enter password, then it's gonna pass that true. So right now, what we're gonna do, let's go back to our auth route here. So in the auth route, we as we did for our, especially for our login register is done. So right now, I think I'm gonna bring it back below the login. So here it's gonna be our route for our register. So let's say there should be router dot again the post method, and the post method gonna be login, and here it's gonna get that login user. So that also be a function in the auth controller, which we are gonna create right now. And what kind of things it's gonna decipher on that especially. So this is our register, so I'm gonna just concat that, and here it's gonna be login user. So in that, simply create a function which gonna be a login user, and again that should be similar using the async handler, and over here it's gonna get that async mechanism. Let's get a request and response. And now feel free that you are doing a very fantastic job without any AI, without doing any other mambo jumbo. You are purely coding. AI can provide you that, but we need to understand the mechanism, how the things can do, how the things can really aligning it all together. When you understand the proper mechanism, you can build anything, and AI can help you. In my next project, I'm going to build an entire segment using AI, which just we're going to do by coding, and we're going to build up a lot of things together. Okay, so no worries, we're going to build that very shortly. So right now, what we're gonna do for the login user, it would be simple, similar way. We're gonna make that, and we're gonna simply pass that email and password from there, and that should be reg.body. And over here, what we're gonna do, either you can also put await if you want it to, but it will not do such kind of parameter. It's already handling that. So you can also make that await if you wanted to, so no worries for that. Now what we're gonna do, we're gonna simply make that login just to see. We're gonna simply pass that login attempt, right, just to see what is coming. And over here we're gonna just pass that email if that email is requesting or not, and then we're gonna just simply pass that rest.status, and on that status gonna pass 200.json, and over here you're gonna pass a message. Let's say the message should be login. Hate it. Okay, so here it would be a login user, and we need to import that one. Not import, yeah, we need to import that one right here, login user for the controller, login user. So as we are having that one as the registered, then I'm gonna just go and make a duplicate one. So that route is registered, so that one gonna be a login. So let's say it's gonna be login user. So on that, instead of register, we're simply gonna pass the login, and over here in that body, instead of, I'm not needing that name, I'm not needing that role, right? So we just need to be happen to be providing that email and password. So that's it. Send. And as you can see, login hits, and over here we can pass the email. So our attempt is okay. We know we did a perfect job. Our route is working. Now we're gonna build this structure. First of all, once we hit, we need to get back our user is equal to await, and we're gonna pass that user one. So we can or if user.find1, we can make that mechanism. This already we did that, right? We are finding using the email for the existing user. The same thing we are dealing right here too. So after using that email, now we also need to do some of the thing. If we have the user and after user, we also gonna make that await, and there user dot remember the match password, we are having that. So that's the one we are now going to implement whenever user.match password is just passing with the password. Remember the model which we are passing, you see the match password, so that's the method it's going to access. B, make sure the name should be the similar of that, otherwise you're going to find a very fantastic error. So if the user is available and user the password is matched, then we're going to pass that, let's say, response.json, we're going to shoot from there. And also you can make the status, you're going to pass the status to do the things in a very good way. I think where the error is coming, something I'm maybe missing. Let's say I'm gonna do it again. So user, so we have the user and okay, that should be here. I will just in on one close together. So rest.json, I can pass the status, or you can say status, pass the status at 200, and then passing the JSON here. So in the JSON data, we can provide the data, whatever the data we are looking forward to. Remember, we're gonna pass that ID, should be user ID, name, username, email, user email, avatar, user avatar, role, user role. Now you can simply pass that user directly. It will work. No worries. If you're directly passing, like instead of passing that object here, right, in the object, you are simply passing your user, it will work too. But the problem is now you can concat a message, you can pass, because here we will pass a token. Okay, later on we will pass the token. According to the token, we can set the user in our local storage, right? So if we have user, we're gonna do that. If we doesn't have the user, we'll pass the status code, which gonna be happy to be a 400, and we are going to throw a new error, and the error error, and the error should be passing that invalid email or password. That's it. So now let's go back here. So if we try, and here, as you can see, we should be receiving the data. Now you can see we are having the ID, we are having the name, email, avatar, role, user. So we are now accessing that one from our database. So right now, as we are passing that, we need to also pass a value called token. So the token, and the token should be generate token. I think did we have that? I think we created that middleware, the configuration, the token or not. So I think if we go in the utils, yes, so that's the generate token. So now also we need to provide that JWT secret. So let's go in the env. So now you can create any kind of JWT secret. So I'm going to go with that our token generator, and here I'm going to just simply, as you can see, I think we are having that. Yeah, we provide already, so no need that one. So now as you're having the JWT secret, what actually is happening there, especially on that utils, it's just getting that JWT from the JSON web token, and we're just making that const generate token. We're passing that ID. So whatever the ID is, we are passing that. We're gonna pass the ID as the email or others. I think the better option, it should be, we're gonna provide the ID of that user ID. So that's the ID we're gonna take. Then we're gonna return the JWT.sign ID. Then we're gonna pass that secret, and it's gonna get an experiment of the 30-day. If you want that 1 hour, you can just simply make that 1 hour, or you can, I'm gonna just pass that 7 day, not 30 days, not even practice, 7 day at least maximum. And also you can create a refresh token. So whenever it's expired, it's gonna automatically handle that refresh mechanism. Let me know in the comments if you're looking forward to have that refresh token or not. If you want, I'm gonna provide that, but right now I'm gonna go in a simple way, and later on it's just providing the token. So it's almost getting that sign mechanism. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go with that let's say generate token over there. So this is the method we are going to use. So generate token, and on the generate token, we're gonna pass that user dot underscore ID, and we need to import that generate token. So import, I think it should be coming simple like that from, let's say, dot I think, and that should be coming from the utils generate token.js. So now we should be receiving a token entirely, right? So let's go back to in our over here. So right now, if we just, as you can see, this providing the ID, right? So you can take multiple instances. If we just create, we should be receiving a token. So if I just copy that token and let's go back to our website again. So, and over here there is a decode mechanism, so we can simply access that, paste the code and decode that one. As you can see, we are providing the ID, whatever ID we are passing. So right now we can do a lot of other parameter. We can pass the ID, or you can simply get the user, right? You can pass that entire user as an object. And over here, whenever in the Auth controller, you are simply can generate with according to your user entire user data, right? So what we're gonna do right now, it's gonna be a little bit heavy if you are doing that. So we're gonna just try to log in again. So now, as you can see, it's a big bunch of data. And if I copy that, and right now, if I go in my website over here and let's clear again, let's paste it and decode token. Now you can see we have the user ID, name, email, password, avatar, everything we are receiving. But it's not a good practice to provide everything, especially the password. You know, it's not a good practice at all. So we are not passing that. As you can see, either you can like pass that email, password and others, but what I recommend you not to do that, to providing the entire user. I'm going to go with only the ID, because whenever I'm getting the ID, now I can destructure the ID and get the data from the database, because if my ID is matched with the data, that's fine, that is enough for me. So this is the one which can handle. Okay, ID is not defined. Okay, I didn't provide the ID. Where is that? Sorry, this is the ID. I just forgot to enter that. So now we are okay, what's wrong here? Auth login. Okay, email, something was fishy. What it is, let me see. Yeah, now it's got, we got that. We're good. So now as you're having that, we got that our login user mechanism. Okay, good. We got our register user mechanism. Good. And now we're gonna create a get user profile mechanism by which we can create the user profile. So right now what we're gonna do, we're gonna create some more user from there. So this is, we can create instead of that, I'm gonna create an admin user. So let's say admin, and I'm gonna provide the role as admin. Let's hit send. So that's gonna create an admin user. So we are gonna deciphering what kind of action gonna perform by which user we're gonna do and build the mechanism. And again, I'm saying you, we're gonna working like a real backend engineer. We are not gonna focus in our decipher knowledge of our structurable scenario, how the client gonna look, how gonna admin gonna look, but we're gonna create a full entire mechanism act as a backend specialist, like a database specialist, so that we can go and explore all the models and do the needful things for that. So as we did that, so now let's go to the auth route. We're going to bring back all other routes that are what we are going to actually doing. Now, as you can see in the Swagger, so especially we're going to make one thing very clear cut on that. So we're going to just directly go in our local host, and that should be API and docs. Right now, it has nothing, but we're gonna set up the Swagger. So as you can see, that's already set, all the object, it's already in the repo, so you can grab everything right now, right? So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go back to the index just to provide that documentation, so that we can simply go and create the setup. So after that route, we're gonna just set that it's gonna be, let's say API, sorry, it's already there. So the API documentation, how it gonna be, so app.use, and we are gonna use that /API or should be a /API /docs. And from the docs, we are going to manipulate some of the setup. So let's say it should be Swagger UI. So it should be Swagger UI dot serve, right? So now we need to bring back that UI mechanism to, we need to, as you can see, we need to provide that Swagger Express. So let's go back to our package. Did we have that? So especially for the, yeah, we have that Swagger Express, and feel free to go to directly in the npm just to find what kind of things we are exercising, what kind of packages we are using. If it's working, it doesn't mean you don't need to learn at all. You need to learn, you need to go directly on that. So as you can see, this module allows you to serve auto generated Swagger UI, generated API documentation from Express based on a Swagger JSON file. So that's the one which we are provided here, the swagger.js file over here. And then the result is leaving documentation for your API hosted from your API server via a route. So that's the one which it's gonna compile on that. So if we directly go on that instances, we need to go to import that. So let's go at the top. So I'm gonna just import that Swagger UI, getting Swagger UI Express. And after that, we also need to provide some of the mechanisms. So we are providing that serve, so not server, it should be serve only. So that's gonna serve the Swagger UI. So if we save right now and we hit enter, so right now it's still AI docs getting nothing app.use Swagger UI.serve, which is gonna serving on that. And okay, I think we need to provide the setup. So let's make that Swagger UI dot setup, and from the setup we need to also provide that specs, and then we're gonna, not like that, specs, then we're gonna pass the entire object formation, or we can just bring back the entire segment like that. So that should be similar of this one. Okay, so now we're getting the serve method, we're getting the Swagger UI setup, which you're gonna passing the specs, explorer true, and the custom CSS getting the Swagger UI, top bar display none, and custom title baby shop, or instead of baby shop, we are simply gonna go with that Babymart API documentation. I think I maybe manipulated something. Okay, let's try this. No, what we did wrong? Let's say over here. Specs Swagger UI setup, okay, in the env. So maybe we are missing something over there, maybe in the specs or some other parameter. So let's see what actually we are missing by so far. So in the specs, specs are not defined. So this is the mechanism. We are passing the specs, but we're not importing on that. So remember, we have a configuration file. This is the Swagger, and on the Swagger configuration, we are passing something called specs over here. So this is the entire, so this is the options. This is the options, and this is the specs which you're gonna passing the Swagger JS docs, that options, all this parameter providing as an specs, right? So what we need to do in the index folder, in the index file over here, let's say imports, we're gonna import that specs, and that import gonna be coming from .config config / swagger.js. So right now, if we go and come here and hit enter, we should be having a good documentation here. You can see, you can authorize that one. You see, we are having the token. So right now we go over here, and if we just directly get the login, so let's say login, and we logged in, and then we're gonna grab our token, right? So we're gonna grab the token here, and we're gonna pass the token. We can now authorize, say we are now logged in, so we can access the user data. You can see user having the ID value, string value property, and also we can get other property. Right now you cannot see that because we didn't implement the mechanism how it gonna rerun on that. Just think about that, especially for like auth route in the auth controller. Think about, I think, the route that I'm gonna work for that. So in the auth route, I'm gonna set the Swagger mechanism so that it can provide all the entire setup, right? So I'm gonna go and pass that. So this is my login setup. So I'm gonna pass that one, right? So at Swagger, so it does, the Swagger gonna handle on that. So API auth, and then the post method we are providing it. So you need to be careful what we are doing. So right now, I think I need to provide that. So let's just see what you see. Yeah, auth login. So right now you can see how the things can work. What if I don't provide that description? Let's see what's the fallback. Okay, no, there should be the fallback. Okay, that should be the fallback. Okay, so this is the mechanism. So if I hit on that, especially entering on that, So let's see, I'm going to go directly on that authentication mechanism. So right now, as you can see, we are just providing that swagger for our login mechanism. So all the login parameter can be passing over there. I'm going to go again, API docs. Okay, what's wrong here? I think my server is got down. Yeah, my server is crashed. Okay. Okay, I think I need to provide those setup, otherwise it can't access. Yeah. So what actually we are passing that? We are passing that login route, Swagger, API auth login. We are passing the summary, that post summary, login user, authentication parameter, request body. So feel free to go with those responses and others, how it can be redirecting on that. So now let's hit again. So right now, if we try to go authorize, we can already authorize that one. So as in this, we can see the schemas and others. So right now, I'm gonna just try it out, right? So let's see, we are having that. I'm gonna just use my, let's say I'm going to use that admin@gmail.com, and we're going to provide the password, execute. And then as you can see, we are getting the mechanism not allowed by course. Okay, so we need to provide that course configuration, of course, otherwise it will not let the swagger to work on that. So to combine with the course configuration, I think we are already providing that 8000. So in the index, let's see. Yeah, so Android, okay, Android simulator and others. So it's supposed to take that action to go with that, but I don't know what's actually is not helping to execute. API auth login. Okay, that should not be in that way. So no worries about that. We can set the course policy later on, because we need to also go with the client, admin, and others, as now we're not gonna like passing that data requirement, but you know how to set up that swagger just to go and to provide all the scenarios. So I'm going to close this one. Let's go back to our auth route, and I'm going to just remove the others, which is not require, and index and the DB. So right now, what we need to do is that as we are making that our login method, so there should be overall some more mechanism to be indulged with. So first of all, as you can see in our user routes, especially like the auth route, gonna handle a lot of other parameter which are gonna be in exceeded way. First one, the register. Second one, the login. And the third one, it's going to be, let's say I'm gonna provide that, let's say it should be, I'm gonna just comment that. Another gonna provide that, let's say it gonna get that profile value, and another one get the logout mechanism. So that two parameter going to be get. So now the profile is gonna come. So as you can see here, for every single particular user, they can get their user profile, right? But we need to protect the profile value, because not everyone can get the profile, right? So first of all, we're going to make that router dot get. So it should be a get method, and that get method gonna get / profile, and here we're gonna pass that protect mechanism, protect. And remember, if we just simply go in our mechanism over here in that auth controller, not I think it should be coming in that like middleware, in that auth middleware, we have a function called protect. And in the protect, in the async handler parameter, we are getting the token from there. And if request headers to authorizations and request headers to authorization starts with the barrier, so the bearer token, if the bearer token is available, right? First is the authorization, then the bearer token. If both is available, we are destructuring the token, like split up the token from there. Then we are decoding our token using the same JWT secret. Then we are grabbing the user. If the user and also getting the matching with the password, we are providing next. Otherwise, we are just throwing the error. So now if there is no token, also 401 error is going to happen to be there. So first of all, we need to get the protective value from here. So we just simply go at the top. I'm going to just minimize that one. So at the top, and let's say import, and that should be coming a protect from middleware.js, right? So that's protect mechanism gonna work, and then it gonna bring back get user profile function from our auth controller, right? So we need to grab that one. So that should be let's say get user profile. So now we need to maintain that one. So how we can do that? It's a simple way also. let's say it should be get user profile, and then we're gonna also use that async handler, and over here should be an asynchronous call over here, async, and there we're gonna pass that request and response, and over there we need to combine all things together. First of all, we will grab the user is equal to await, and that should be coming user.find by not one, should be find by ID, as we are providing the ID, and should be rec dot user dot underscore ID. So that's, we are not getting the body, but we are passing on the forward slash on the route, right? And if there is the user, then we're gonna do something, should be, let's say, res.status should be 200, and then we're gonna pass that JSON data, and over the JSON data, not like that, should be passing the JSON data. So over the JSON data, we're gonna pass the whole user scenario, so that should be getting that overall the user profile, like the ID, name, email, avatar, role, address. We're not passing the password, that's why we're restructuring that. And if there is no user, then we're gonna simply pass that, let's say console.log, should be console log, we're gonna just pass that log, or you can just make that console.error, and over here we're gonna pass that profile, and should be user not found for ID, and over here we're going to simply pass that reg dot user if the user is happen to be passing the ID, and here we're going to just pass that res dot status. We're going to pass the status code, which going to be, let's say, 404, which mentioning that not found, and let's say we're going to provide that throw new error, and the error, not like that, error, and the error going to combine user not found. That's it. And from there we will just simply pass that get user profile, and that way we can simply grab the user profile. And why we're doing that, remember, in certain positioning, especially once you're logged in on the profile, once we're gonna get the fresh data, right? This data first, once we logged in, is saving in the database, like in our state. So we are showing some data from the state, but every time a user coming in the profile, you know, they're gonna like the card gonna update, address gonna update, or the orders gonna update, a lot of things gonna happen. So that time we need to update that particular scenario, so we're gonna use that profile mechanism. So let's go back directly in our, let's say over here we are just gonna duplicate that login. So let's just duplicate. I'm gonna save that one first. So on the duplicate method, so this is, I'm gonna provide that as it gonna be a get method, and should be get user profile, and over here instead of auth login, it should be passing that as, let's say it gonna be passing that at profile. If we hit enter, we're gonna grab, see, no authorized or no token. First of all, what it gonna take, that's we need to maintain. So if you just see, we need to provide an ID. So I think the rec user.id, so I'm gonna pass that one as underscore, so should be not that, should be underscore ID. Now I'm going to go log in a user just to grab its ID, and over here I'm going to pass its ID. So let's just grab the ID and hit enter. You see how the ID is getting to the route. You see it's not unauthorized 404. So now what we can, I think 41 not authorized. Now I'm going to go in my login user. As you can see, that's the token. So this is the bearer token I need. So once I'm going to log in, I'm going to get the token, right? So every time I'm going to pass the request, I can get the token. So here are how I can change. As you can see in the auth, in that auth, I'm going to select that bearer token, and over here I'm just gonna select remove everything. I'm gonna pass that the token which I'm having here. I think okay, I put it in, I think I'm putting in a wrong position, not here but here. So as you can see in that auth, I think in the auth on the bearer token, I'm going to remove that, the dummy one, save and hit enter. And if my token is matched, I can get the data. So that's the way we can directly get our data flow. So here I'm going to just try to get another directory, and the directory going to be, I'm going to rename that directory as, I think it should be renamed. And here I'm going to make that as, let's say auth, user auth or auth. Okay, and on that auth I'm going to select all 2 3 4. I'm going to dragging on that auth. Okay, so for now I know where the mechanism is gonna hit. So from here I can I think home route I'm gonna not put it in the auth. So auth gonna having the get user profile and others. Now there should be another mechanism here which gonna control our logout, right? So as you can see on that particular instances, we also gonna create a logout mechanism here also for the logout router dot. That would be another post method, and that post method gonna be coming as a logout mechanism. Also need to be protect, like without user nobody can log out. So logout user mechanism we need to create. Simply gonna go over here, that should be logout. So const let's say logout user. So I'm going to just provide the similar name of that, and over here that should be a same as the other function, but it's going to be a simple parameter on that, and that should be async handler. And then we're going to also pass that async method, and there should be a request and response. And from there what I'm gonna do, rest.json, I'm simply gonna pass that success gonna be true, and also I'm gonna pass the message which gonna be logged out successfully, and I'm gonna also passing that rest.status which gonna be 200, and then pass that logout user. And one more things you can do, you can also cache, like you can clean your entire application cache if you wanted to. But first, right now I'm going to go in a simple mechanism, and here I'm going to just duplicate another method. So let's say duplicate this one, and that should be passing that as logout user. So that should be logout user, and instead of login that should be passing the mechanism on that logout. And of course, as you can see, it need to be protected. And what kind of things it's gonna do? So it's need to be protected, but what we are passing now, if we just hit enter, you can see it's not getting that, because the protect mechanism is not getting that what we are having in the login. You can see we are having that our token, so we need to provide that token here, otherwise we cannot make logout, right? So we need to just get the token, and let's go in our let's say info that logout, and over here in the auth we just simply go past that token. That's it. Hit enter. Okay, what it's saying, cannot find the route. Okay, logout user is not defined. I think I didn't pass that. So let's just hit enter, and here we need to provide that we need to get the success method. You see, success is also 200, and then message is getting the logged out successfully. So this is the proper user mechanism by which we can log out the log in the user and actually handling all the authentication parameter by so far. So right now, as you can see, we have the auth method. Now we're gonna go and create our user mechanism by which we can handle all of our user. And for the Swagger, you can do whatever the way you are feeling to access the Swagger, right? And what gonna do according to for the user route? So user route gonna access, as you can see, if we directly go in our admin, so that you can understand what's the mechanism we're gonna build for, especially for the user route. And on the admin, whenever we're gonna directly get the user, we can add a new user, we can delete any user, we can edit user. So this all functionality gonna happen, and not everyone can perform those tasks, right? Only the admin can access those mechanisms. So we need to create a separate route which can handle all of this parameter. So let's go back to our over here in the index file. We're gonna create another route which gonna hold our entire setup for that. So that would be our route, and that should be app.use, and the use method gonna passing that a /API. You can now also pass that within an object parameter. You can do that, but right now I'm gonna go in a simplest way possible. So that should be users, and here we're gonna pass that user routes, right? User routes. So what we need to do, we need to create that user routes over here. Should be user routes dot. JS, and the same conception, the same thing it's gonna be implementing here. So we need to just, I'm gonna go in fast forward just to provide you that it's gonna be protecting that one express. It also gonna get that protect mechanism here. Then what we can do also, we need to provide that const router should be passing that express dot router, and from there it should be, let's say, export default. It's gonna just simply grab the router, and here in our index we can simply pass that our route should be user route. It's not providing the input, so we can just simply go at the top to get that user route. So let's go at the top, and over here we can simply just implementing that. So this is our user route. And also, as you can see, we have the auth directory. I'm gonna just minimize that. Then we're gonna create a new directory here, which is gonna provide us to bring back our users, right? So this is the user routes, which is gonna holding every single data about the user. Now, what kind of parameter a user route should have, right? So this is gonna having with that, let's say, a user route gonna perform it should be having that / route, which gonna access on the actual parameter, and also it's gonna have / id route, by which we can just simply pass that data requirement. And also okay, I think okay, I need to go and calculate again. I think I make it smaller, and then it's gonna perform other tasks like that. It will go directly on that / id, and then it's gonna also pass that addresses. So in that way, so we can manage the addresses by the user addresses and others. So that would be also passing a very good mechanism on that. There should be another route, because we can then like provide an address, and then according to the addresses ID. So all things we're gonna maximize. So first of all, we need to provide our home route, which gonna handle all other parameters. Should be router dot, and we're gonna just simply go and create and access the route. So that should be / home. So that's gonna be and direct route, which we are going to head back to our / you see the API user. So that is gonna be actually access that route. So I'm gonna just go over here, and let's say I'm gonna create, or I'm gonna just simply duplicate that request. So duplicate over here, and I'm gonna just bring back within the users. Over here, what I'm gonna do, it should be passing that API users. So let's just hit back on that. Right now we're not getting anything, so that should be users. Let's say get users. Okay, that's the get method we're gonna pass, because it's gonna hold two methods. One should be the get method, one should be the post method. So on the router.route in / this plan on that should be passing a get method, and that method gonna asking for a protect, and also that method can asking for the admin, and then it gonna get that get users. And why the admin is required right here, as you can see, we're providing the reg.user, and reg.user.role should be is equal to admin, and if the admin is accessing, only then he can perform whatever the things we are letting him to do. Otherwise it's gonna be 403 not authorized, so then it will be not authorized as an admin. So that we need to provide. So now we're gonna create that get users mechanism, by which anyone can grab the entire users parameter. So let's go in the controller. We will make that user controller. So user controller .js file, and here we're gonna make a simple function. So const get users method. So also need to better to put a comment mechanism. So get users. So get users. Now on the get users mechanism, again it should be passing as an async handler property. I'm just gonna bring back that in the top, or we can just simply also we need that user parameter. So we're gonna get the user here, and also okay, right now that's enough. So now we're gonna go with that async handler, and on particularly on that method we're gonna go with the async function, and here should be okay, this should be like that. Okay, no need that, should be request. Okay, should be request and response. And from there, what we're gonna do, we're gonna make that const user should be getting that await, and here we're gonna get user.find. So here we're gonna pass an empty object, right? An empty object, and from that object we're gonna go and select select, and whatever the things is passing to be minusing having the password, it gonna access that. If you're not passing that also, it will directly get that, but it's better to pass that. And rest.json, you're gonna provide not the JSON directly, I'm going to provide any status, and the status going to be passing at 200, and then the JSON, we're going to provide the JSON mechanism. Let's say we're going to provide that success true. You can initially provide the success true method if you want, and then you're going to pass the users, right? So we're not momentarily passing that success true, but I'm going to pass that so that you can also put a mechanism that if the response.status or response.success is true, then you can pass that. So this you can combine if you wanted to. And after that, if we're going to pass that export, we're going to simply pass that get users from directly here, and let's say gonna combine that get users from that users controller. Right now, if we come here, localhost API users, if we hit, we're going to receive something not authorized. So what we need, if we go back directly, okay, I need to provide that. I will just drag it in the user directory. So it's not it yet there. So I'm going to save it, and then I'm going to drag it in the user directory. Okay, here. Okay, so now what actually we need to do is that we need to get the token, right? So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go in my Auth, I'm gonna go for the login user because I need to have the token. So right now, as you can see, I'm not an admin, right? If I get the login, so I'm not logged in as an admin. As you see how the token is, it will expire more than like it will. Okay, I'm gonna logged in, I'm gonna close the others. So let's say close other tab. Yeah, close other tabs. So I just copied that. Now let's go get users, and over here you can set it globally. Okay, you can set the a token globally, but I don't want it to. Again, I'm saying I want to do everything as manually. If you're looking forward, let me know in the comments. I will make a separate video where I can access everything, every single mechanism, how a postman, how you can use the postman like a pro. So as you can see, 403 forbidden, and the message is that not authorized as an admin. So what we need to do, we need to log in as an admin. So I'm gonna go in my body over here, and I'm gonna, instead of user, I'm gonna provide an admin. Admin has access for the admin route. So over here, I'm gonna just copy my segment from there. So let's save it here, and then let's go get the user, and I'm gonna remove previous one, set this one, set hit enter. Now this time, as you can see, success true, we got an array of users, right? Because if you just go directly in our MongoDB, so as you can see, admin is a role as admin. So now we are getting the proper admin, and we are receiving the data. In that way, if even anyone logged in your admin dashboard without admin, they can't access the data. They can't see nothing. It will pass a simple message, which we're gonna later on fix to populate the data, that no, you can't access. You need to have that admin permission to fulfill these actions. So now you know that get method, get user mechanism is working perfectly, and still you are watching this video and didn't subscribe. I again requesting you, do subscribe the channel. It will help me a lot to grow, and I'm gonna build a lot of things for you guys, and it's gonna be coming, and you can buy me coffee if you're looking forward to. That's up to you. Okay, so we get that things, we have the route by which we can access for that mechanism. Then again, as you can see, get method, we're gonna simply go and do the post method, and in the post method it should be also protect, and also it need to be have an admin access, and that could be create user, right? So this route can create user. So now let's go back to our controller, and over here we will create such a route by which we can create a user, and you know, it can be really handy to do those things. So let's say it should be create user. So what kind of things it can do? Const create user. So create user, and it should be is equal to async handler, not like that. Should be create user async handler, and from there it should be an async mechanism, let's say getting the request and getting the response, and from there directly passing that. We gonna directly, you see the mechanism which we get the register user, the same thing, the same parameter we're gonna exercise in here, nothing fancy. But this to perform these actions, like this gonna access to the admin, not directly the registration which we happen to be get. So this having the permission to manipulate each and every single segment. It can go name, email, password, role, address, every single thing it can manipulate that one. As an admin, it has the functionality to provide and populate all the data. Okay, so right now what we can do, we can just grab that, and again we're gonna check if we are having the user exists. So the same parameter which we use for our creating the user, register user, the same mechanism we're going to use. That's why I'm not providing you that much. So if the user exists, we can simply pass that user exists 400, and then we're going to pass that create user. Okay, and after that we also pass that if the user is created, like if we have the user is not created, we are going to create a user. So should be similar like that. Const user gonna be await user.create name, email, password, role, and if address is there, addresses, otherwise an empty array. The same parameter. Now we're gonna just populate the similar synonym. You see, if the initialize the empty cart, for right now we are not gonna providing the cart because I didn't create the cart model. It's gonna throw the error later on. Also, you're gonna creating the cart, you're gonna populate it everywhere. After that, we're gonna just do that. So now the status is getting 201, which is the ID getting the ID, name, email, avatar, role, and address. If this is not happening, you see the status code 400 invalid user data. So now let's go back here and let's try to create a user, right? So that should be a create user route /. So the get users route, right? This is the / users, right? So that's the same parameter gonna happen. I'm gonna just go add a new request here, and that should be providing a post request, and the request name should be create user. And over here that should be hitting the same route. You see, every single route, first in the auth route we are deciphering everything as a separate mechanism. Now we're gonna hitting in the same route. We're gonna coming as a get method, we're gonna coming as a post method, put method, delete method. In that way we can work it together in a very good fashion. So now it can be able to create a user. How we can do that? First of all, let's say if I hit, let's see what's not authorized, no token. So we need to set the token. Now you can again, I don't want to set it in a global way because there is some complication, because otherwise you will not know what kind of error you are getting. So from here the barrier token, not barrier, bearer token. So I'm going to save it and hit send, and let's see what's not authorized token failed. Okay, why is failed? Oh, okay, I'm gonna log in again. So this is my admin, send again. So that's the new token here. So let's get the token and create the user, and over here I'm going to remove and save and send. Yeah, cannot destructure property name of request and others because we are not providing an actual data, right? So how we can send the data? We need to go, especially for the register user, the same parameter it's going to work here also. So I'm going to copy that, and let's go and create user. Let's go in the body, and also from there I'm going to pass the raw data, which JSON is selected by default. And over here let's hit I'm going to hit in admin. Let's see if it's creating or not. You see user already exists. So now I'm going to make that test@gmail.com. that should be passing as a test user, and hit. Now we should be able to see, get that. You see the test user is created. Let's go back to the get user. If we hit send, we should be able to see that's the user. There's 2, 3 test user is right there. So now once we're getting the user, we can also pass a lot of other mechanism by which it can be more fantastic, like the providing the ID, providing the separation, pagination, a lot of things we can do. But right now for the user, I'm gonna make straightforward by which way you can really understand that things can work in a very simple way. Later on, so you're gonna create the product, we're gonna enter a lot of more and more logic. So not dumping all at all together, like at a time, but simply slowly you're gonna jump all of that. Okay, so as we did that, so now we need to create another route. So I'm going to go a little bit of faster forward, as just it's going to implement such a things which can really access those route setup. So as you can see with the ID, we're going to having especially for the 4 route segment. One is the get user by ID, another is update user, which is just a put method, another is the delete and a protect admin and delete user. So it should be a 2 mechanism. One is that using that ID, like /ID, we're gonna provide that user ID. Then we can like getting the user, same the user which we are actually getting beforehand. So that can happen, and then the update user, and also can be deleting user. So first one we're gonna implement is that user controller. We're gonna get that user by ID. So that should be, let's say, get user by ID. So const, let's see, we're gonna bring that up. That same function should be get user by ID. Also, let's get with that async handler, async mechanism, request, response, and the same thing. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna just simply authenticate the user. As you can see, we're getting the user find by one, then passing that, should be passing that get user by ID. So that's the one mechanism to get the function. And another function is gonna have that update user, right? So this is gonna be a put method which we need to create that. So this also need to be providing such a very good way. So I'm gonna come over here and should be passing that update user method, const update user. And now let's pass that async handler, and then async mechanism, same request response, and then we are good to go. So over here, first of all, as you can see, we need to grab the user. Now actually, as is, it cannot be accessed in the global layer, as it's just not in JSX function. So we need to provide an scope, but we can declare in a global layer to provide the function. That's up to us. So again, what I'm saying, I'm gonna making that as simple as possible. So now what we're gonna say, if we doesn't have the user, that's time, like if we doesn't have the user, we can simply pass the mechanism on that, gonna be 404, throw an error, user not found. And for the update user, you see we need to be happen to be protected, but no need to be having an admin. Only admin gonna delete the user, right? So what I'm gonna do for allows user by themselves or admin. So what let's just pass that mechanism right here. So you're gonna be passing a simple comment. So allows updates by the user themselves or admins. So two setup gonna happen. So if we're gonna just concatenate the two separate separation on that. So if the user that ID in string, so right now if the user is getting that if so what we are doing, if the user ID and the request user ID is not equal to and user role is not in admin, we are gonna throwing a new error. For right now we can only provide the mechanism for the admin, right? So we can simply protect that things. For right now, as it's just passing handling on the admin parameter, we'll just give the permission to update the user by admin. So let's just go, or I think this one not require, you see, it's not is equal to admin, because we're going to give anyone to update. We're not accessing the admin. So I'm going to skipping that. So I'm going to just simply get the username and other dialect parameters. So first of all, I'm going to provide the value over here. The username should be request body name is or username. If the password is available, user password, request body password. If the role is providing from the body, should be coming the role. And then user address, if the user passing the address, otherwise getting an empty address, whatever the address is passing by user. So this is going to happen. And for the avatar, that should be an avatar set gonna be there. So I'm gonna setting up later on. So const updated user should be, let's say await, that should be let's say user dot save. We not user, yeah, user dot save. We just gonna save the user, which gonna be as an updated user. And also we're gonna pass that, let's say rest.json or res.status gonna be 200, and .json, let's say you can pass the status, but I'm not gonna do right now. I'm just gonna simply go and grab that. Let's just provide that one. We're gonna update that scenario. That's it. So now we're gonna passing the JSON status. If the user is having, we're just updating the user. So the mechanism gonna access passing that should be passing on the let's say gonna be coming and update user, and also can get user by ID. I'm gonna keep the delete user later on. Now we can test that two mechanism get. I'm gonna just go with the put method, which gonna be update user. So let's say I'm gonna, as it's getting the create user, I'm gonna just duplicate that one. So duplicate. And over here, instead of that post method, let's say it should be not create user, update user. Instead of post method, it's gonna be a put method. And over here on the body, I'm going to go in my register mechanism here, or not register, in the create mechanism. Remember, we created that test user. So let's go in the put method. I'm going to just simply pass that updated user. So instead of test, I'm going to just make a test. So, and the role, I'm going to make the role as a user. So hit save and let's try. And as you can see, I need to provide an ID, right? So what I'm going to do, according to that particular instances, I need to log through that. So let's log in the user, and that should be passing that test@gmail.com. Hit send. I'm can logged in, and this is the ID for that user. So let's go in update mechanism. I need to provide the params. So the param should be passing that ID, and the ID should be getting that value. And hit send, and we should be getting, okay, it's providing the 404 not found, because this is the mechanism. So it's getting the users. So users/id. So okay, API users. So I think we need to, okay, let's get user profile here. Okay, /user profile, then underscore ID we are providing. So / I think we need to provide that underscore ID maybe. Let's see. No, we didn't get the route. So update user dash /ID. So we need to get that. So that should be within the same route, users. Oh, okay. Users, it should be coming /. I think so. Yes. No. That should be, okay. This is the ID, and that is the body is getting that. So why is providing the problem? 404 not found. So we need to work with that route setup. So this is the user route. So this route is not accessing that. So /ID. So users /ID. I think it should be similar of users /ID. So directly grabbing the ID. So the users /, if we just pass that ID, I think yes. Instead of users, we can directly map that with the ID. No need to, because it's accessing the ID directly. So we need to provide that way. So as you can see, it's having the test user. So I'm going to change again. So now let's say it should be new test user, and also we can change the test like the email. So new test, and hit enter. And as you can see, we have that new test user, and in the get users method, if we just send on that, we can see that one is changed. And also if we go directly in the database, if we just reload on instant refresh the data, we can see that particularly the data is changed and we got the entire segment. So right now, as you can see, our update method is working. So right now we also gonna get user by ID and delete mechanism. We're gonna testify. For the delete method, we need to create another function which will help us to create that delete method, which will be simply a delete method. And to delete that, the route must be a protected and also the admin, and then we're gonna use that delete user controller over there. So let's go back to our user controller here. So let's go directly in that here. So after update user, we're gonna just make another one, which gonna be, let's say, the delete user mechanism. So it should be, let's say, delete user. And over here, we're gonna write this function delete user, which gonna handle with that async handler. What we're gonna do first, we need to grab our user, right? So whatever the parameter we have update, as you can see right here, we are passing that in request params.id. It's gonna directly come to request param.id, right? If we have the user, then we are going to do something. Okay, there should be the condition if we have the user. Now if we doesn't have the user, it would be a simple procedure to go with that it's gonna provide an 404 status that user not found. And if we have the user, what we can do, first of all, we're gonna make that there should be some proportion user's card we're gonna implement later on, and also multiple table, not in the same table, otherwise the data would be congested. If we keep in separate table, we're going to delete according to that, right? For right now, I'm going to keep it as commented, show it the user, and we're going to just make that await user dot delete one. That's it. We're going to just simply run the function and it going to delete that, and also need to provide that the rest.json. Here we're going to simply pass that, we're going to make that of 200 as we make the success. So we're going to provide that status code status, and here we're going to provide that JSON format. We're going to simply pass that. You can simply do that same status code, which can be success, or you can pass in a true false value. Like if it's happened to be there, you can make that success true if you want it to, right? So I'm going to make the status success, or you can just simply make that success as true. So you can also go like that. And then we're going to make that for the JSON format. We're going to pass the message that user deleted successfully. That's it. So now what you need to do, we need to like pass from there. So that should be let's say delete user. Okay, fine. So now let's go back to our user route. Over here, it should be passing at the delete user. So our controller is ready, but the route is the same proportion of the route. If we directly go, as you can see, that's the mechanism we use for the update user. So I'm going to copy that, and or I'm going to just make a duplicate example on that. And on the duplicate, the copy one, that should be, let's say, delete user. And over here, instead of the put method, it should be coming as a delete method. And if we send that, we're supposed to get, okay, cast to object for value. So ID, okay, ID is not, I think that was the problem. So the user, remember, we already functionalized that, but somehow we copied that and it was coming there. ID did not be there. If I just send that data, as you can see, success, user deleted successfully. So what's the user we deleted? If we directly go and get the user, there should not be that user. So I have my name too. As you can see, test user is deleted perfectly. So now our delete mechanism also working like the way it's supposed to be, and it's doing a very good decent parameter. So now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna introduce all of my model. So you need to be paying a close attention on that particularly, because now we're gonna capture entire model setup so that we can bring it one by one. So first of all, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go in the model, and over here in the model, what we are going to implement is that I'm gonna just bring everything one by one. So let's say there should be no worries about that, because I'm going to explain to you what's actually going to do within that particular scenario. So I'm going to just bring back all together. So replace the one which is coming existing. Now I'm going to close all. So here you need to pay a close attention, and no worries about that. All the model, I'm going to pass that. So as you can see, so whenever you're going to clone the repo, you're going to find that models there. So I'm going to pass all the model there, all the model controllers and others. You're going to pass, you're going to get that except that env. So no worries about that. The model, I'm going to pass that. So we have the user model. Remember previously what you did, and in the user model, we're going to adding something very unique. That is that there is the wish list, which going to coming from Mongoose schema types object ID, and the reference going to be coming for the product reference, which you're going to having the product model. As you can see, that's the product model which going to be coming as a reference parameter. And then also in the card, same schema type going to be passing as the reference for the product, because every card should having a product, like product ID is going to be there as an object, and also having the quantity. Like if I add 5 products in the card, every single product have that ID and the quantity, not the entire product list. Is because the product list would be heavy, so we need to just update whatever the ID is there, and from the ID we can access the product from the card, right? So now this is a fully functional of that user schema, like user model here. Then we're gonna go one by one. That's the banner model. And what kind of banner? In a banner, the banner has to be have the name, should be having the title, start from image and banner type. So this is the banner and providing the timestamp and passing that banner model. That's it. Then we're going to have the brand model similar of the banner, but this one only have the type, and then like for the name and image, and then the timestamp. And as you can see, we are just exporting the banner as well. Then we have our cart model. In the cart model, we are having the product ID. Remember, every product should having passing an unique ID to there. Like whenever you're going to create a product, we should get an ID same as user. So bring the scenario like that. So if I go to simply of our, let's say we are here in our admin. If I directly go in the baby shop, so let's see, try on that. Now whenever I am adding one product, it's accessing our like the cart, right? If we go directly here, okay, it's just running an ad. So as you can see, I am getting the cart, this entire data I'm getting from the database. But what I'm doing, I'm storing only the keys, like only the IDs of that particular product as a cart. And from the ID, I'm calling to my database to get the product because I have the product data as well. So the same thing is gonna happen. There should be a product in, like as you see in the addresses, there should be a cart address parameter here. Right now, whenever we're going to create a new one, as you can see in the user model, we should create it, that wish list and cart. Like if I go directly here and let's say we're going to create a new user, so get user, where is the create user? So that's a create user. I think that one is deleted. We're going to create the test user right now, and we should be having a user. I'm going to refresh that data. And then whenever we are going there, as you can see in the test user over here, we have the wishlist array, we have the cart array, and also we have the address array. So that's all the formalities we are just passing directly from here, that it should having all the properties. Previously I was skipping that because we are not doing the model. So now you know what's actually going to do. So in the cart, as you can see, the cart, it just happened to be an array. So in the array, we're going to keep like this object ID. So this ID gonna be there. If we have the 10 products, 10 ID, it will be there. That's it. Simple. Then we are also going to have the name, price, quantity, and the image. So that would be the cart. And then we're going to define the cart schema, which is going to having the user ID, and that user ID could be coming, it just kind of linking together beside on that. So the type should be that user schema, then record true, unique true, and item should be the cart item schema. So that entire item schema should be passing as an array over there. Okay, fine. Then we're going to having the category model. In the category model, like category have the name and image could be optional. As you can see, we are showing all the images, especially if you go at there. As you can see, those images coming right from the category model. Then we are gonna having that order model. So if you directly visualize about the data layer over here, and if I go to see my order, view my order data, okay, this account is, I think there is no orders yet. Anyway, so here the order should be, again, the product ID should be linked up with the product, and the name, price, quantity, image, if it's available. Then in that order schema, we are injecting that every order should be having that user ID, should be items, which gonna be orders item schema. And then we are going to having the total value of there, which going to be a type of number. By default, we're going to take a 0 property of the value. Then also you're going to passing the status. Now every single order should be passing some kind of status, which going to be coming through and pending. Once it's paid, it's going to be paid, then the completed, and also can be the cancelled. By default, all the orders getting to be pending, because once the payment is successful, you're going to make it paid. Once the order is delivered, you're going to make it completed. If the customer or by somehow we cancel the order, it would be cancelled. And for the shipping address, what we can do is that every user gonna be also passing the shipping address, and that address gonna be related like of our state, like the similar of that address schema, which gonna be passing that any street, city, country, postal code. And then after that, this is coming from the shipping address, right? Then we are having that payment intent ID, that describes session ID and paid at, and the timestamp. So that could be our order schema. Then one of the most complicated one is that our product model. In the product model, every product should have the name and also having the description. And you can see the name should be unique, because we can generate the slag according to that. It's up to you. I'm again keeping it simple as possible. Then also we're having the price, which is going to be a number, default value is 0, having the discount percentage, type is number, default 0, mean 0, max 100 can be there. And then stock, actually max not to be 100, we can can could be the 90% the max discount you can provide. If it's 100% discount, we're just providing that as free. Also, we're going to having this stock parameter, and then coming to the ratings. And as you can see, ratings should be according to the users, then also going to the min max rating, minimum 1, maximum 5, and the created parameter. Then coming the average rating parameter, image, and also required true. Coming the category, which gonna mention of the category schema. Coming the brand, also passing true the brand schema, passing the timestamp. And now here is the calculated rating scenario is right here, which gonna calculate if the rating can be we're gonna just maximize. Like if you can just see over here this product rating, if we just go in the single product here, as you can see the review, no review. If there is review, it like 1.2, 1.3, it's gonna calculate it all together to go provide a very good length properties over there. So this is kind of model we are going to use by so far. So that's all our model. So right now, as we are having our user model, so what we can do is right now, especially on the user route, we're going to create some more route over here. So let's go in the, and now I'm going to go in a fast forward, because you are going to have every single thing with you. I'm going to provide all the code to you, so you know what actually you are getting by so far. So right now, as you can see, we are gonna make something over here which gonna be passing through that. I'm gonna just remove that here. There we're gonna passing that about that router.route, which gonna just, I'm gonna create that one first, which gonna create that ID, and we're gonna pass the address. So the post method and could be protected, and also coming, it's not that admin, any user can add the addresses. And now we're gonna create that add address functionality. So let's go directly in the delete user. After delete user, we're gonna create an add address method, right? So it should be, let's say, add addresses. Okay, so now in add address, similar a function const add address, and over here similar way the function gonna be run. Or instead of doing that, as all the things gonna be for you people, so I can simply just dump it right there and then explain to you. You just take your time to type, not to just copy the code from the existing, better to write by yourself. I'm just doing that to just reduce the time consumption. In add addresses, we are passing that address like the parameter of our ID. Then we are finding the user according to that ID. If there is no user, we're throwing error not found, and only allow user to modify their own addresses or admin. So we are maximizing that one. If user ID is not mismatched, and also if the role is not according to the admin, it can show the error that not authorized to modify the user address, because only that users and the admin can change anyone's address. Like over here, if you can see here, the users, when they're having the address, admin can change anyone's addresses. So there's no big deal that anyone can do. But the good thing is that a user can also update their address. Now for the state, city, country, postal code is default. We're getting from request body. If none of this one is available, like street, city, country, and postal code, providing that all address fields are required, you can destructure the error to make it looks more valuable, more easily guided. It's up to you, but I'm going to keep it like that way. And also, if this is set a default, make other addresses not default, non-default. So means if you are sending, like if I have multiple addresses, if I go directly in the card, as you can see, if I go proceed to checkout, which as you can see, that one is the default. If I have to, like if I add a new address and I make that one as is default, that should be removed from the default, because only at a time on a single address can be happen to be is default. So that's the function is just modifying that one. Then if this is the first address, make it default. So if I have only a single address, like a length is 0, then user address dot push, and I'm making default as true. Or you can just simply concat all together, like you can just simply pass that like whatever you're receiving in the address property, you can simply pass that too. Then otherwise, what we are doing is default, we're keeping it as default, otherwise making the address as false. Then await user save, and we are passing the JSON response success true, user address is just addressing. So you see, I'm using different method. It's not, I'm not following any success method. It either is true or is success, receiving success, whatever status is success. But why I'm doing that one, so that you can trying to figure out which method you're gonna use. creating those loopholes just for you to testify, so you can follow a certain pattern which one you may feel better for yourself. So now what we're gonna do over here, we're gonna make that add address just to import from here, and then let's just save it here. And over here in the user route, we need to just import that add address. That's it. So there is one, so we can just simply go and testify that, and then there should be another 3 routes need to be implemented. One is that it could be to implement that coming with the ID addresses, then the addresses ID, where we can update the address, also we can delete the address. So this address going to be either we can maximize to update and delete. So that's the same parameter going to take action. So we're gonna just go and create the same controller over here, which gonna make that it should be update address. And over here, as you can see in the parameter, we're gonna passing that request parameter, the params.id. Then the same thing, not found, we are just going through that, and address and addresses ID we are capturing, and then we are receiving whatever the mechanism we are passing from the request body. We're destructuring that one and then using it. After this destructuring, you can see we are getting the address from the address street is equal to street. Then whatever the value we are passing from the body, we are just updating that one. And if default is there, also we are updating them. Then we're just sending address updated successfully. So this is the update mechanism. And for the delete mechanism, the same parameter it's gonna happen. So let's say delete user, delete address. Okay. In the delete address, also the similar pattern, we are providing that params ID over there. If there is no user, you can make those one as a global function if you wanted to. The same setup of condition is right here. Then passing that, getting the actual address from there. If there is no address, address not found. If there is address, like it was default, we are making its address default, and then user address dot pull request params dot address ID. And if the default is there, immediate the next one. So if I have like a 10 addresses there, now I remove one which was the default address one. Then initially the first one we're making it as default one, then we are saving the user, and then address deleted successfully. So that should be one that update address, and that should be delete address. And over here we can also access that two separately, and then address. Okay, so now what we're gonna do, we're gonna create the address just to testify how we're gonna access those things. So right now, if we go and create the address parameter, this is the ID which you are using, so get user. So now we're gonna get all the users right there. So right now what we're gonna do, we need to, like, you can update. So that's the same parameter, same message it's gonna happen, which can update, delete, and put all the mechanism by so far. So right now, what was the contradiction for every address? As you can see, ID / address, right? So I'm gonna just this one is for the add address, which gonna be as a post method. So I'm gonna go in a post method over here, or I'm gonna just copy on that. I'm gonna duplicate this one right here as a similar parameter over here. So that should be add address, right? And instead of put method, it should be coming as a post method. Now don't need to push that ID over here, remember. So that should be the according to the ID, then passing the address. And if we save, there should be coming an error, user not found. So we are not having the user because our user is updated. If we go directly over in that create user mechanism, that was our user. So let's go over here, hit save, and we're gonna just change the user ID. If we click right now, we should get an error, all address field are required. So we need to go to the body, and as you can see, we cannot use those things. So right now, whatever the mandatory field to create an address, so let's find it out. So that one is the add address. Here what we need is that to fill that street, city, country, postal code is default. So we're gonna pass that street. So let's just put that street, which is going to be, let's say I'm going to provide a state. I'm going to make that stringify. So let's say I'm going to make it 19, and then it's going to also come in the city. So let's say city, as I'm living in Dhaka, I'm going to make that Dhaka city. You can also destructure how the way you want it looking forward to. I'm going to make that country, and the country should be, I'm going to make that as Bangladesh. Then also the postal code you're going to make postal code, And the postal code right now where I'm living in Dhaka city, it should be coming 1216. So that's the postal code. So I want to check is the postal code is getting it's a number or whatever the value is right there. If I go in the user model, because that could make the problem. No, string. Yeah, all are strings. So yeah, that's a good thing. So no need to go and access on that. I can easily grab that. And also getting that is default. I'm gonna make it as true, or I'm gonna, okay, first thing first. So first let's go with a happy path. So let's go create the address. And as you can see, after return, we're getting the success to add address. If we go directly here and if you refresh, we should be having another address which can be making scenario pretty good, decent way. So if we go in our user here, we are having an address, an object, and that is the is default is true. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna do in a separate path. I'm going to create another address. I'm going to make that address of a 48 of sorry, over here should be a 48 of a street. Okay, this one I'm going to make this one also is default as true. Hit send. So we're going to see what actually you're receiving. If we go in the get user, so we can see whatever the address parameter we are receiving. Now from the users, we're getting 2. So the 48 should be true, as you can see, because that one is getting automatically false, right? So this is how we are tampering the address and others. Now, you know how to testify, so you can go forward, because as you can have the code and also you can write it pretty well. I can trust you people. You did a very decent job. If you are till here, don't forget to subscribe till now. Okay, that's my moral request for you people. So now here you can check the update address. So same thing. Now update, I'm going to show that to you, and the deal. Okay, I'll show it. It's better. So what I'm going to do at address, I'm going to just copy that. Let's say duplicate. And over here, it should be an update address. So update address. And on that update address, it should be a put method. So on that put method, it should be addresses. So after the ID, the addresses, then it need to provide the address ID. So if we go, I'm going to just remove some of the parameter, which is I'm not using. So remove that. Get users I'm using. So okay, fine. Okay, save. And then delete mechanism, add address, okay, update user. Okay, so now from here, as you can see, I want to delete that 19 street, right? So update the 19 street. So I'm gonna copy the address path. So that's the ID is right here, then / the address ID. So first, what is the mandatory is that, as you can see, we're getting the user ID, we're getting the addresses from the address, then we're getting that address ID. So whatever address we are updating. So right now in add address, I'm going to copy this entire segment, and over here in the body, okay, is 19, right? I'm gonna make it is 1, and also is default. I'm gonna make that one as a default true. Let's see if it can update. So now, as you can see, it's updated. So the street is 1 and the default is true. By the way, that one default is false. So as you can see, everything is working in a pretty decent way, the way we are looking forward to and let it to work. And the same thing we're gonna implement whenever we're gonna create that our admin portal. So as you can see, creating, deleting the user, deleting the product, everything gonna be happening right here, the same fashion how the way we are building our backend right here. Now one more thing is that delete the user. Of course, the same thing, address ID need to be required. So as you can see, I'm gonna just duplicate that one, and that one should be a mechanism called delete address. So delete address. Okay, here it should be coming as a delete method. Okay, so now as you can see, that's the address. So this is the ID of our first address. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna just pass that, send it directly. Okay, something wrong, because after the address, okay, we didn't duplicate the copy one. So okay, I'm gonna delete the first one, right? I'm gonna keep the 48. So let's copy that, and after the address, I'm gonna provide the ID and hit send. That's it. As you can see, now I have the 48 because the one is already deleted. If I go in my cluster and if I refresh, I should be able to receive the new data. which having only a single address. As you can see in the address array, we have only single address. So, okay, very good. Our all the entire user parameter is working perfectly. Now what we need to do is to create the other parameter, and what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna create and go to one by one the segment over here. So let's go in our route. We're gonna bring another route is right here, which can really workable. So I'm gonna create a route, and one of the important one is that to create the product route, right? So we're gonna add the product, and that should be one of the fundamental route for us. So let's go and create that one. That should be product routes. Yeah, I think the routes should be enough. Yeah, routes.js. So in the product route, what's kind of things gonna happen? We're gonna create our product, we're gonna add product, delete product, update product, the same parameter, we're gonna just render on that. So first of all, if we just go directly over here, we're gonna use some more mechanism. Let's say import express from express, and also we're gonna make the router should be is equal to express dot router, not like that, router, and we're gonna just simply make that export default router. Okay, and also if we need to also engage that one directly within the parameter on our server, so let's go to just enlarge it all together. So that's the API users, and here let's say app.use, and over here we can make that API /products, and here it should be passing as our pro. Okay, why is not coming product route? That should be coming out. So pro products. Oh, that should be, I think, the product route. Yeah, product routes. And here just need to import that route. So I'm going to copy that and I'm going to paste it, which is for product routes, and here it's gonna pass that as product routes. So let's see. Yeah, everything working fine, we're good to go. So now in the product route, what kind of things we are going to implement? First of all, as you can see, we're going to having some separate route segments, and which gonna be our first route should be, let's say it's gonna be a creating the get products, right? So that should be get products, by which we can grab the products, and also we can give like that to create the products, right? So that's where it's gonna be more fundamental to, or you can make that like all the function, because as in the home route, or we can just simply create that. So that should be let's say router dot route. First we're going to create, it should be in a home route, and here we're going to create a separate route segment. First we're going to make that route a get products route, right? So we can make that, it should be a get method which going to get that get products route. So now we're going to get nothing. So first I'm going to create that create product route, right? So it should be a post method, and in the post method it should be a protected, so protect, and also only admin can add the product. Beside, now I can make that as create product, right? So we need to create that create product functionality by which we can go and make that. So what we can do, similar of that controllers of the users, we will create that product controllers.js. Now over here, first one, we're gonna create that our create product method. So of course we need to bring back our entire segment. We need to get our product model. We need to get our Cloudinary by which we can update the user activity and others. And by the way, we didn't try that okay, did we configure our Cloudinary? I think we configure, but we didn't test that one. No, we didn't configure our Cloudinary. Okay, we can update, we can create an update whenever we're using the product, because we can also do that for the users particularly, which we didn't do it yet, because every user, like if we just go over here in our user model, not user, I think in the user route. So over here we didn't implement that one, update user, allow updates, avatar. Yeah, that's the one was pending. Anyway, we can go and create that one, then we're gonna also pass that code right here. Okay, so for the product route in the product controller, we can do a lot of things to be implementing that. So first one is that we can do the first one to get the get method, but right now as we doesn't have the product, we're gonna create that for that create product. Okay, so const create product, which gonna passing that async handler, and let's see, async should be request, not like that, request and response. So from there, what we are going to do, we're gonna grab a lot of things from the body, and as you can see, that should be a recommending parameter over here. We're gonna get the name, description, price, category, brand, image, discount, percentage, and stock. This entire calculation gonna be coming from the request body. So that's the problem we're gonna face once we're gonna uploading the images, because as you can see in the request body, it should not work like that. We need to pass that in the params. So especially whenever if we are facing something, whenever we are updating the product, that one we can calculate over here once we are just updating product from that server, like from the admin portion here, because here the image proportion gonna work perfectly. So we're gonna fix that. But right now, as we are triggering that one according to the body here, so if it's not helping, we can just customize that. So no worries about that. Now what we're gonna do, the first thing first, same what we did for the user, we're gonna first check if product with same name exists. We are just gonna differentiate using the name over here. You can do with the other parameter also if you're looking forward to. So const should be the product exist, and the product and that should be, let's say, await, and they're gonna be matching with our the model over here, product dot find one, and we're gonna just go with that, and we are going to finding them according to the name. If the product exist is available, means the product is available right there, we'll just simply go and return passing response, which gonna be that response status 400, product with this name already exists. So you cannot enter a multiple product with the same name. That's what we are just not providing that. And now here we are going to make that upload, let's say, image to Cloudinary. Okay, Cloudinary. So we are gonna push that one for a bit right now, and also we're gonna go in that our product model, and in the product model what we're gonna do in every single product, as you can see, require true, we're just gonna skip that part right now just for this one. Later on we're gonna implementing that. So now the Cloudinary implementation, we're gonna skip that for a bit because here we're gonna save that one. Now what we're gonna do, const product, and that should be is equal to await, and then gonna pass on that product dot create creates, and on the create mechanism we're gonna simply pass that as a name, and also passing the description, we're gonna pass that price, we're gonna pass that category, we're gonna pass that, let's say, brand, and also you're gonna pass that, let's say, discount percentage. If the discount percentage is available, then okay, fine. Otherwise we're gonna pass that as a 0 value because we don't want to keep that as an empty. And also stock, if if the stock is coming directly from the scenario, you're going to provide the stock. Otherwise you're going to pass that as the 0. And right now if the stock is available, I think it should be or value 0. And for right now, I'm going to make that image as an empty value right now because we're going to provide the secure URL later on. And here what we're gonna do, if we have the product, then what we're gonna do, we're gonna simply restore status, which is gonna be coming as a 201. Remember when we create the user, which gonna helping us to provide the message. And also we're gonna pass that a JSON, and in the JSON we're gonna pass our entire product data so that you can easily understand. If nothing is available, then pass the same thing. I think this time invalid product data, so you can simply pass that invalid product data. That's it. And from here we can simply make that export. Let's say that should be create products, and in our product route we can simply import that one as the create product, and controller, don't forget to provide the JS. Now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go pretty decent way so that you can understand it very easily. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna create another folder here which gonna taking all the segment for our products. So that should be products. And in the products, I'm going to create one more route here and a request here, which going to coming through for create product, create product. And that should not be a get, it would be a post method or post request here. So I'm going to copy one of the requests here. So API, that much would be enough. So let's go remove that, update it at, so all the other which is not required, I'm going to just passing to remove it. So the product, this is the product route. Okay, create product. So API / okay, / API. Then I'm gonna go in my index. Let's see what's the route we're providing. API / products. So products. And if we hit, we should get something. You see, that's not connected. Okay, so API / products. So we are missing something. Okay, something is broken right here. What is that? What actually is broken? Not found middleware CM. So okay, imported at user Babymart. Okay, in the product route we use the middleware which it was not finding. Okay, this is the one, Cloudinary. We didn't import, like created that one, so it's not finding that. Anyway, and also one more parameter could be models, product model. Okay, cool. In the product controllers, you're having the controllers. What's the problem here? Cannot find. Okay, document. Okay, Auth middleware imported server product route. Oh, where we use that in the product route, we use the Auth middleware. Where we use create the product route. Blah blah blah. Okay, we use that. Admin or others. Okay, it should providing the line also. The problem, I think it was the middleware here. You see the Auth middleware should be JS. See, the problem is right here, how you can find it. So that's, be careful. Even me myself having the problem. Okay, not authorized, no token is because as you can see in the users, we need to have the authorization for that. So let's go directly here. We're gonna log in with the user. So where we are having our auth, we're gonna log in user and we're gonna try with the admin. So let's say admin@gmail.com. Let's log in, and what we need is that we need to have the token. So let's grab the token, and after grabbing the token, you're gonna go create the product over here, and in the headers we're gonna add that, like in the auth, let's say in the bearer token, we're just gonna remove that, passing that, hit enter, and as you can see, cannot distract property name of it. So we need to have those kind of property value right here. Of course, we're gonna pass that in a good masses, but right now we know what's actually we are doing. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna go in the body, and over here we're gonna select for the raw body data JSON. So in the object, we're gonna provide a name. Let's say we're gonna provide name, and that could be test product, and after that we're going to also having that, let's say description, and in some text for test product, and after that we're going to also grabbing the price, and in the price I think it is a number property, of course that should be. So in the product model, need to be careful about those things. So as you can see, rating number, stock number, price number. Okay, good. So the price value, I'm going to provide 100. And also we need to provide that after the price, we need to provide the category. So let's say we're going to grab the category. So it should be just category. And then it's gonna getting the brand. So let's go the brand. Then passing that just brand, and after that the discount percentage, which I'm going to provide that as 20, and after that stock and image. So let's say stock going to be 20. That's it. Hit enter. Now we should be able to see the product validation category cast to object ID failed. It because first, before creating the product, remember in the product model we are developing a mechanism by which we need to provide the schema to user. We have the user, but remember, it doesn't have the category, doesn't have the brand. So we need to create those things because it's going to highlight it according to that particular brand data. So now what we can do, as you can see, we're going to create those brand property right now. So what I'm going to do right here, so that should be in our product route. We're going to create a different route for to like to create the brand and also the others that could be. I'm just going to bring that together. So that should be similar property over here. You can easily understand. So in the brand routes, what we are doing, we're experiencing to providing the express route parameter. And here we are providing some kind of parameter data here. One in the head route, which gonna get brands, and the product, which gonna be create the brand data, right? And in that ID, we can create brand by ID, and also we can update the brand if it's the admin like protected, and only admin can do that action. And also we can delete the brand. So what we are doing actually 4 action. One is the get brand, one is that create brand, then get brand by ID, the similar of the get brands. And also like it's a single brand only coming, we can update, we can delete. So this is the brand ID, and also we can simply get that brand controller here. So let's go bring back. And why I'm passing that like that, because now you know what's the things can be done like that. So you understand those things, right? So it's very simple to decipher, go on that. Again, the Cloudinary parameter I'm going to skip for right now. So the Cloudinary, or I think we can say the Cloudinary because we're using it and it can make messy things around. So I'm going to go in our, let's say to adopt the Cloudinary, we will simply go directly over in our config here. So in the config, the Cloudinary, okay, it's already here, but we need to provide the key, right? So you know this already setup is there. So in the Cloudinary, what's actually is happening, we are uploading those things. So first one is getting the get brand, and this is the description for this providing the data in that way. You can keep it or you can remove it if you wanted to. Now in the get brands, we are just getting the brands according to all the brands we're getting. And for the get brand by ID, we are passing the ID in the request params.id, and then we are getting actual, if there is brand available, we are passing the brand, otherwise an error. And you can destructure it in a decent way if you're looking forward to. And to create the brand, we're getting the name and image from the request body. And if the brand is exist according to the name, like a single brand cannot have multiple name, a brand should have a single name, and that can go according to that. And if brand is exist, providing the error. If the image URL is not there, it can grab the image URL like result. We can upload in the Cloudinary, then we can simply get the secure URL from there, and we can simply save the brand there. If the image URL there, okay, otherwise the URL is undefined. Now if the brand is there, we are providing status is 201, which is created, then passing the brand as in the JSON. And after that, also updating the brand the similar fashion, getting the name and image from the body and the brand, requiring the params. We are capturing actual brand right there because it's gonna passing to directly the params for getting the value. If brand is available, then okay, fine. If the image is undefined, we can set the image in a new way. Otherwise, we can just pass the secure URL. After that, we're updating our new brand, and then that's done. Now for the delete brand is there, same the async handler where is coming. First we're getting the brand, and then we're deleting one according to that particular ID. That's it. So now this is the one which we are publishing the mechanism. So this is the brand for that, and then another which is going to be coming for the category one, the similar fashion, the same thing, just 1 or 2 fields going to be some of the decipher over there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to drop that route over here. So that would be our category routes consisting the same parameter, same data layer, just coming some more, and the Swagger is already added here, and then getting of the get categories and also create categories. That's the one thing. Then it's coming to get that get category by ID, update category, delete category, similar the brand data. And also for the controller for the category, we can also pass the category controller here. So okay, so let's go bring back the category controller. So in the category controller, we are going to also passing the similar fashion. As you can see, we're getting the controller, and then over here in the category controller, as you can see, oh, okay, oops, we just deployed the category route here. Should be passing that category route. So I'm going to grab that category controller. Now in the category controller, the same as the brand. So first we're gonna using the pagination right here. You can see things getting interesting because it's not getting differentiated. Because for the brand, having some few brands, but for the categories, we are using the pagination. As you can see, we have a multiple. You can just go and view the next page categories from there. So in the pagination setup, what we are doing first in the get categories method, the pagination is going by. So first we are declaring as the page one. I'm keeping all the comment section right here, so you can go through the code, you can understand it, you can get things the way you are feeling better, so that you can understand in a good mechanism. So first of all, what actually we are implementing, first we're getting the page. So parse init, we're getting the page from the data layer, and also we're getting the request. The request always gonna coming as a string value. So now we are making into parse integer. We're getting the page value. If there is no, we're getting the default is 1. Same the per page, keeping the default as 20. Sorter order, sort order is getting the ascending as by default of ascending value. Now validated page and per page. So that's the way we are validating the page and per page. We're validating the sort order also, and then we're skipping through the value to just use the proper skip value properties. Also we're providing the total number, which the category dot count documents. You can see here, we can see the value of total. You can see the total number of 17. We can actually grab it, right? And then we're getting the categories. So we're getting actually all the categories. We're passing the skip majority of that. As you can see, we're getting the page minusing 1, then also multiplying with the per page. So one page getting 20, 2 page getting 40. So every incremental value is going to provide on that. Then also providing the sort value, getting the total pages. So all entire total divide per page. If we have the 40, like right now we have the 70 product here, I'm making the per page 10 here. So if we divide, we get 2 page. So that's the 2 page you are viewing. The first page getting first 10, the second one getting the last 7. So that's the one. In the response JSON, we're providing the categories, providing total page per page, total pages. Now here is the deal, the same setup you can do it for your users, for your brand. So this two I keep it for you people can try. I implemented others all route should have those functionality, page per page, pagination, others, everything is right there. Now get category by ID, getting a single category. The similar thing, we are just grabbing the ID, then if ID category is available, passing the category, otherwise throwing the error. Now creating the category. In the creating category, you're getting the name, image, category type in the request body. So now if the name is not is not a string, then we're providing the error here. Then also we are validating the category type, featured, hot categories, top categories. So that category type, it should be there. If it's no match with that, invalid category type. Then the category, first we are selecting the category type. Either if category type is mismatched, then we are throwing the error. Then we are checking the category exists. So the every single category should be having a unique name, not a single. It should not be a multiple category in the same name. Then if category exists, throwing the error. If the image URL is not there, we can set the image URL according to the same setup of the Cloudinary. Then we're getting the category name, image URL, then the category type, and if the category created, passing the category, otherwise throwing the error. The similar pattern for the update category, like the validated the types and passing the mechanism. And the same of that mechanism working for the delete category. As you can see, find by one, then we are deleting the category and we are passing our entire value segment. So right now I'm going to go in our index file here, then we're going to make that app.use. So we're going to create a multiple. I'm going to bring it top here. So because before products, we need to create our brands, so like brand and categories. So I'm going to keep it at the top layer of that. So let's just move it at the top. So first, it should be our, let's say, brands, and here it should be brands routes. Okay, so should be brands routes. Why the route segment is not coming? That was the tricky. So I'm going to just bring the two together. So one should be, okay, I'm going to keep the category top, category routes, and the brand routes. That should be our two separate routes. So the category and brands. Let's just bring that route to at the top. Okay, If we put that, I think everything working perfectly fine. So now let's go back to in our over here. So what I'm gonna do in the products, first of all, I'm gonna create a branch, right? I'm gonna go one by one. So over here, I can duplicate that one. So this one, let's say create branch, and instead of the products, it should be passing the route of brands. If we hit enter, we should receive something. Okay, test product. Okay, as you can see, because we are providing those things here, and it's accessing the image and other property, as you can see, we're providing a lot of things, but it's just taking the name of the brand and the image, right? So we should not providing a lot of things right here. So it should just getting the name and image. So the name should be our, let's say, test brand. Okay, hit enter, and the test brand is created. I'm going to go in our database. Let's just happen to be refresh the data. Now, as we have the users, we should have the, you see the brand, categories, products, all three route is right there. So now I'm going to, that's the test product. I'm going to remove that. So we have a test brand. We're going to create a simple product right now. So first of all, we are having that test brand. Now we are going to duplicate that one. So let's just duplicate, and that should be coming as a create category. So create category, and over here there should be category. I think so, that's the route setup. So create categories, not category. Okay, in the categories, so let's go in our category controller here. I want to see what kind of things required to create the category. So first of all, to create the category, we need to provide those things. Create category in name, image, category type. So we have the name. So in the name, it should be coming as, so we need to have the type. Let's say it should be passing new arrival, and that should be category. Image, I'm gonna still skipping, because image we're gonna hold it once we are doing in our backend. Invalid category type. So now, as you can see, for the category type, if we go in our category model, so category model, so in the category model, we are featuring those, either the hot categories, top categories should be featured. So we cannot use like whatever the name we are looking forward. So those data, remember, once we are going to create the category, especially from here, we can see whatever, you cannot enter more than that. So we're going to not maximizing that. We're going to limit the user not to implement those. If we send now, we should be happen to be create the category. So you can see, so now we have the category, we have the brand. So now what we need to do, you see the ID of the category, right? I'm going to copy that. I'm going to go to create my product here. For the category, I need to pass that ID, right? And also for our, let's say we're going to have also, I think, save, create category, create brand, and also in the brand, I need to grab and pass that ID. So like that. And if we hit enter, so right now we should be able to get the brand and like create the product. If we go to see our product, right now, as you can see, we are now having our product, a fully structured product which can utilize and use it. Now you can try the create mechanism, update mechanism, delete mechanism, everything, it will work perfectly. I know, I guarantee that to you. And whenever I'm going to passing the code, and how you can get the code, that was the really good question for you people. So right now, what I need to do if I want to provide you the code, as you can see the .env, right? So I'm going to create another function over here, which is going to be, let's say I'm going to copy that, paste again. That should be, I'm going to make that env dot example. Okay, so that's the one. I'm going to pass that to you so that you can use directly here. Okay, so I'm going to copy that and like that, remove. So okay, so simply you can remove, you can exclude on that. In the git ignore, I'm going to I'm going to use that env. So the .env, or you can make that, let's say I'm going to create it like example.env. So example.env, okay, so that it can directly go in your push method. So now here I'm gonna implement that. So right now, how we gonna provide the code to you, right? You need to have the code somehow, right? So how we can do that? Remember the GitHub repository, which I'm gonna just promise you to provide, and it will already in the description over there. You can grab it and you can use it. So I'm gonna tackle some different mechanism over there. As you can see, especially here, the Shofi, not here, the Babymart YT. So that is the repository which you are grabbing. In the main, you're gonna have the main setup, right? So what I'm gonna do, instead of creating the main here, I'm gonna go and take another repository. I'm gonna create that git checkout. I'm gonna make a branch. The branch should be server setup. And as you can see, we are now in the server setup. Let's say I'm gonna make that git add dot git commit, and let's put a message server setup initialized, and let's say git push. Okay, I need to provide that git push origin server setup. So now it's gonna push that code directly in that repo here. So now what it's gonna do, as you can see, I need to change the branch. If I go in the server setup, now I can see my entire code structure, and as you can see, okay, it's ignored in the server. I should not be able to see. Okay, .env is coming. It should not be so. Okay, I need to change some setup. Anyway, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna just copy that. So I don't want to provide that the Mongo URI to you. It's not a good practice. And of course, I'm gonna get the error right now. It's gonna just start crying like from the everywhere that I leak one error here. So let's say git add dot git commit. I need to change the .env updated git push. So right now, if we just check, if we go in the env, okay, yeah, it's good. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna just use it right here. Okay, very cool. We're good to go. So right now you can find entire code structure, entire simple code scenario over here. So you can simply use it directly from here, and it will be fine for you to go and initialize that. So right now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to provide all other properties, all other parameter, because we need to build a separate client, admin and the admin and client and app. So it's going to be a lot of hacky text. So now, as we have the product route, what kind of more routes we are going to have? So I'm going to just initialize those things. Then we're going to go and implement, start building the setup. So if we go directly in our server, so let's go in our index package here. So we are having that products route and others. So in over those parameters, we are going to have some more route setup. So if I just go into provide and put that initialization, so I'm going to just bring it all together. So I'm going to just grab it. So no worries of that. So here we are going to have some more route setup of that. So first of all, if I go directly here, as you can see, we're going to have our, let's say that's the product. After product, we're going to have the banner routes, right? Banner is test route, orders route, wishlist routes, cart routes, analytics routes, payment routes. Now, what I recommend you, whenever I'm explaining, even it's just gonna be taken half an hour, be listen carefully, just see what I'm just explaining to you, because you need to understand those things. Because right now we're not gonna hit with the Postman to create any data. So whatever the data we have been created using the Postman, for your understanding, I think that would be enough. So now I want you to figure out, to learn what kind of route setup we're gonna create, because right now what I'm gonna do is that to implement that one directly in our admin panel and also directly reflect in our client side, because the same thing I need to explain one on one. Why I created those page, just that you can understand how a backend structure can work. So now we're going to go directly in a full phase so that it can utilize to you. So the first one we're going to explain is that banner routes. Take your time, stick here, because that will be very, very important that you understand that. Otherwise you're gonna pass the error, then you may cry that why Node is not working with me. But trust me, you have a lot of complaint about that. You people are doing that, why is working with you, not with me? Because of those things, you people are sometimes skipping to listen. So first, for the banner routes, we're gonna go and create the banner routes. And not to create, I'm gonna bring back to you. So let's go directly over here. In the route setup, we're gonna have our banner routes. What is the banner route? Same thing, I already implemented the Swagger for you. In the route parameter, we're gonna get the entire banners portion, and only the admin can create the banner. So create banner method, and then from the banner we can get banner by ID, update banner, delete banner, right? So now what we need to do is to make that banner controller over here. So let's go directly implement the banner controller. The same thing, get banners providing the entire banners. Now for the banner, I'm not gonna making the pagination because it's gonna only 2-3 banners right there, because what we are using, especially in the home, as you can see, that's the banner data is coming from there. Okay, and we can get banner by ID. We can also create banner name, title, start from image banner type, and that's going to creating our banner. And like that, we can update the banner, and also we can delete the banner. That's it. So that's the banner data is implemented. And also for our banner route setup, we also can go through implement all the route parameter from there. So what I'm gonna do, I think I'm going to provide it's all at the top. So the banner should be at the top here. I'm going to comment the other routes. Okay, so right now I will check that one if it's running or not. So now we got the banner route, and after the banner route, what's the next route is that we are providing our stats, orders, wishlist, cart, analytics, and payment. So I'm going to bring all of those routes together to you. So 1, 2, 3, 4, let's say 5, 6. So that would be the banner route, like other parameter. And also I'm gonna bring the controller. So the controller is gonna exceed on that state controller, payment controller, order, and then cart, banner. Banner already have analytics controller. Okay, and also what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna remove that alternative scenario here. And also that can be remembrance to remove those scenario here. If we are missing anything, we can just simply get one hit. Okay, so right now what we are expecting is that to create the entire route segment and setup. So first of all, we need to see the state route. In the states actually getting the states data. As you can see, we can having the account parameter, and also we can see the statistics. That's the how it's gonna define to provide the data for me. And what actually is going to do is that we are getting the route and get stats, one single parameter. And what we're getting the user count from the user documents. We're getting the products count, categories count, brands count, orders count. That all are coming from particularly of that model. And what we're doing, we are also counting the revenue data, from that particular instances. We're calculating the total revenue from there. And also we're getting the rows, like whatever the rows we are having, then we are aggregate according to the rows distribution. Then we are also making that category distribution. As you can see, this entire differentiation is just coming right here. We have users, revenue, orders, products, and also the category data, whatever the product is, no sale and others. So all are explaining from that test data over here. As you can see, total value and the categories distribution, user roles distribution, we have 7% admin, users 93%. So that's how the brand distribution is there, which brand product is more. So all distribution is coming from there. And after the category distribution, you have the brand distribution here. Then we are passing the entire value segment according to the stats, which gonna getting that as a stats value property. So this is the one. Then we're having the orders. So in the orders, what we are actually doing, we are happen to be creating the orders. So as you can see, you can get the orders for get only we can get the all orders for the admin, and then we're getting the orders only for to get orders for the user, which is protect, and create orders from cart value is there. And then also we are getting that for the get order according to the ID, which can user can get order by ID, user can delete the order, is up to the user. And also there you can get the order status, so also the protect method only user can get that. Then also the put method to update the order status, which can happen to be working with that webhook status. Now we're gonna go with that our get orders admin. Now the admin gonna get all the orders, and the pagination gonna work for that, filter gonna work for that, status gonna work for there, and then we're gonna making the skip value to calculate the data. And in the orders, we're populating for the user ID, name, email, and the item property and other. We're providing the total value property, and also we are transforming the orders according to that. And after that, we are passing the entire orders. You see the transform orders total we are providing in the fountain, so we're getting the orders data from there. Then also we are happen to be create order from the cart, and in the order controller we are creating order from the cart. We're getting the items shipping address, and if there is no item, no shipping address, we are providing the error over there. And if there is no address, city, others, blah blah blah, we are also providing the error. Then we are checking if the items is valid, and if is valid, then we are providing the returning the product ID, name, quantity, image parameter. We're calculating the total value. Then we are creating order with the pending status, because the first initialization is getting as a pending, and that is actually triggering over here. If you go in over in this parameter in the proceed to checkout, once with the pay with Stripe, that's the when its things is triggering, that's the when it's getting things done. So that's the one the order is created and passing that method. And after that, in the orders created, we can also delete order accordingly. We are passing the ID, and with the ID we can delete. If the admin only can delete the order, we are putting that. Also the user can delete if you are looking that too. Then we can also update the order status, which can simply get that order. I will remove that, not require those things. If no request body is there, passing the request is missing, body is missing, then from the request body we're grabbing the status, payment ID, intent ID, Stripe session ID. That's all we're gonna pass that to there directly. Then we are validating the status, pending, paid, complete, cancelled. According to the status, we are forwarding the value. If it's error, we are providing the error. Otherwise, we are getting the order first. If there is no order, passing the error. If there is order, we are okay. I'm going to remove that log, not require. And then if there is request user, so first we're getting the owner, admin is pending. We are deciphering all the setup. You can see, you can read the comment to understand it better. That if there is user is not admin and not owner or order is pending, you can deny the access. That could be true for that. And if that okay, we are preparing the update to the order according to the status and the updated app. So we are updating, like if the pending like paid, then we are making the payment intent, and if the status session ID, we're providing the session ID and also the updated value. Now here you can see after at the end we are updating the order. So also we are disabling validation to avoid shipping address issues, just to testify on that. Then we are providing the order status updated. So among all of the things, the order is little bit complicated. So what I recommend you, go through that status, also for the update order status, you can see how we are gonna just using the parameter to update our entire order segment. Feel free to go there. This is the one of the complicated one, but once you understand, that's very simple. And for the wishlist item, we're getting all the wishlist product, and also we're getting the add to wishlist, remove to wishlist, and then get wishlist products. So if you go directly here, get user wishlist is that we're finding the user according to the ID which we're providing there, and then we're getting the select method as a wishlist. If there is no user, throwing error if user, we are providing the user wishlist data. And add to wishlist, passing through a product ID. So whenever you can see in the Babymart, if we are adding that, we are requesting that one in our database, because that is the where is saving there. And what we're doing, if there is no product, we are getting the product ID from there, because we are saving the product ID in our database, not the entire product. It can happen for the card, it can happen for the wish list, it can happen for the orders. We are just putting the IDs, not the entire product data. data, which can, like, it can, every time we are saving something in database, all a data. So if we put some data, my database operation gonna be much more heavy, which I don't want it to happen. So that's why we keep it like that way. Now after that, if there is no product ID, providing the error. If there is the product, we are providing. If there is no product, first of all, we're providing the error. If there is the user, okay. If there is no user, providing the error. The same thing, if there is user wishlist includes the product ID, we already see the product already in wishlist. That could not be happen, but even though, put a check if the product is already in wishlist. Then we are adding in the wishlist, user wishlist.push the product ID, await the user save. We are providing the response. That's it. The similar thing, the remove from wishlist, the same parameter, the same checker is happening. This time we are just removing that user.save. We are removing or filtering whatever the ID we are passing. Instead of the state, we are using our actual database. And for the get wishlist products, you see that's the typical things here. So now whenever we are going to grab that wishlist item, if I go here, I have only IDs. How I can get, you see, if we go cart response, getting a little bit weight. If we go in the wishlist, you see a little bit more weight. So it because of that products which I'm getting here. So now what I'm doing, if there is no product IDs or no array of product IDs, and throw an error, that product IDs is required to get that product. And for the products await product find, we are passing that in all the products ID and also the populate the category and the name and providing the products from there. So that's the way we are getting entire products using the product ID. Now after the clear wish list, if you just come back here and if we just go directly clear all the wish list, we can simply do that, you see, and that is happening here with the function. And find by one user ID, we're getting the entire user, and user.wishlist, we're making it empty. Very simple, user save, that's it. So this is pretty decent one to go with that. Also happen to be the cart routes. In the cart route, you can see the route is the protect route, cart.use, which is the protect. And then in the cart router, we have the get cart and also the add item to cart, delete, which is the clear cart, update cart, and also that's it. So delete, update, and add. So if we go in our add to cart or get cart is getting to the according to the user, the path is the cart ID, model is the product. So that's how we populate the product. No user, providing the error, we're validating the items, then passing the validated items to the directly to get the cart. And also for the add item to the cart is that we're getting the product ID and the quantity as 1 from the request body. And here we are providing the validation for that. And then we're getting the product. If the product is already in the cart, we're providing the product not found, this can be there. If there is no product, we can found the error. If there is no user, provide the error, and also the existing index, we are checking on that. Then we are providing all the validation and providing the path name to get the populate the data, and after that we are passing that valid cart items. That's how we're gonna go that. Also the update cart, you can see that that's also simply providing all the data layer, then also getting the remove item from cart, which actually removing entire item from the cart. We're having the clear cart, similar as a wish list, we are just making the empty properties over there. Okay, after the cart, we are gonna get that analytics. So that's where we're gonna get enter analytics. So feel free to go explore that. We're also having the payment routes. So this route I'm gonna talk about. Also, you're gonna make the payment. There's a lot of things gonna be implementing there, coming of the payment engine, coming with this Stripe webhook. So I don't want to explain right now. Once we're gonna dealing with that, we can explain. So right now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna also like dispatching that entire things to you. So let's just go over here. I'm gonna okay, not like that. I'm gonna go grab the value. So let's go .env, which is in the server. So I'm gonna just copy those things. I don't know, it's because maybe the folder is structure. What I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna provide the entire code structure to you. So my entire setup of the server is now with you. Git add dot, git commit, and server setup, done. Git push. So now what we can do is here, okay, what is that? Some refs, okay, Location controller, something has. Anyway, I will pass that to you. It's just happened to be getting some of the error which is parsing on that value. No worries about that. We will fix that. So I'm going to provide that to you. So no worries about that. It can go directly to there. This is because you see the payment controller right here is grabbing the secret. So I don't want to be, yeah, that's a good one here. So it's avoiding me to go directly over there. It cannot push there. So what I'm going to do, I added that one, I removed that. So let's just add this one and update it. The payment controller. Okay, let's commit this time. And I'm gonna push directly here. Okay, I think that should be enough for that. Okay, right now I got that code and passing over there. So let's go try to Babymart over here in the server. So it should be happen to be get everything good. The payment controller we need to check. So let's go in the controller and we're gonna try with using the payment controller. So that's the payment controller here. And then in number 8, I think that's okay. Very good. So now, as you can see, what is now most important to you to try to check entire setup. Get everything first, then run in the server. Okay. Now fix everything. You see all the. I think the example is not required. You can see the .env here. You need to fill the data within the env file, and then it will be fine with you. And I think I need to remove that example env because we are using that directly here. So that should be a good cause here. So right now I'm gonna just use that. Let's say example.env removed, and that should be coming in clear. Get push. So now you can grab the entire segment right here. So now I think that would be a good practice to you people. So you try. And because later on what we are going to do is to create our entire setup to build our server. So as you can see, that should be building our admin. So as we are server, our server is ready. If we go directly here, and what is causing the error is because neither API key not okay stripe. It's because the stripe, you need to grab the stripe configuration here, otherwise you're gonna get the error because we use the stripe there in the payment. So you better pull that to stripe secret key. So wherever you are using this stripe secret, you can see right here in the payment we use. So you need to find that and you need to use it. So that's the one which is the handling the error. So if we want to not to show the error for right now, what we can do, it will show the error for sure, because as coming the secret, you need to be putting something else. So what we can do, we can just simply pass something. I think we can do that. Yeah, okay. Anyway, yeah, that's the one is working. Or it gonna, yeah, it's working. So you can just put some value here. Now if we go directly in our localhost 8000, so localhost 8000, and over here, if you go in the API docs, you can see you have a valid structure of data by which you can testify all the parameter, whatever you can authorize use it directly, and you can use it from the browser configuration. So right now, this is the safety net for till now. What we need to do is that, okay, I'm gonna also I'm gonna make that as test secrets, or you can say your stripe secret will go here, so that you will not get the error. That should be working properly. Stripe error fixed. Okay. So now what we need to do, basically, we can just start building our dashboard. So right now, as you see in the server setup, we are pulling entire setup on that. We have the server setup. Now we're going to create another branch where we're going to go and make that admin setup, because as you know, our server is must required for our entire application. So we need to initialize the server first. So we did that. Now what you're gonna do, you need to take a pretty decent understanding about all the setup here. It's pretty complicated, but you need to go one by one, all the setup details and others, how we made that, how we gonna handling that, how we gonna generating all the setup configuration. Then later on, we're gonna use our like the admin model. like the admin application where we can access entire things directly. So all the best, finish that. Then next we're going to build our admin portion.